Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the workshop of how to write research papers. Okay, let me put it as a full screen. Now, here what I will be describing today, I'll just, yeah. So what I'll be describing today is how to write a research paper. This is also very similar to what I take when I say how to write a PhD thesis. So today you will learn two things: how to write a research paper. Second, how to write a PhD thesis. Because the chapters that I explain, what is there in each chapter, the same will apply to your PhD thesis also. Okay, minor changes could be there because different universities have a different pattern. Minor changes here and there could be there, but overall your chapterization of PhD is very similar to what it is in a research paper. Okay, today I will take you through each part of a research paper. Number one. Number two, I will also take you through a few research papers. So I will be switching screens very often because, theoretical part again you'll get from YouTube. What I want to show you is how it is done in an actual research paper. So you will get time to read. In between, I'll give you 1 minute, 2 minutes to read a paragraph. What does it say? And then I'll start explaining what it is saying. So I'll be switching between the PPT and research papers. Number one, so we will go through components of research papers, which is abstract, keyword, introduction, review of literature, research methodology, finding analysis, conclusion. We'll go through these parts and referencing. We'll go through these parts. Number two, uh, when it comes to referencing, a particular style is followed. Okay, either Harvard or APA. I'll try to cover based on time. I will try to cover the Harvard referencing style. Okay, in text and end references. Number two. Number three, based on amount of time we have, I'm going to tell you when you send your paper. So all of you have a 3 years PhD, but this year you will need your first paper. Ideally, first year you will need your first paper. You have this norm that you have to publish papers before you end your PhD. So you will not be able to complete your PhD if you don't publish at least 3 papers on the topic of your PhD. So when you publish, how do you choose a journal? When it goes to the journal, from journal to editor, editor to reviewer, reviewer back to comments. I will show you a few of my rejections. Okay, I did a seminar with the same. I did with your institute where it was an open seminar. I showed my rejections. I'll show you 2, 3 rejections also. They are there on my email. I'll share it with you. What are the reasons why reviewers reject papers? Then how you work on it, resubmit it. So that is one process I'll be covering. I will also take you quickly through plagiarism. Plagiarism is a very general topic, but I will take you to, I'll take you to Turnitin. I have an access to Turnitin through my academy. I'll take you there. I'll show you how it works. Okay. I'll show you how a report comes. So if suppose the report says 20% plagiarism, I'll tell you exactly it is marked where plagiarism is there, and then finally how to rephrase and correct it. So these are the points which I'm going to discuss in 3 hours. Okay, so once all this is done, you people will be ready to write at least a conceptual paper or a review paper. Okay, so let's start how to write a research paper. I will stop for doubts after every 1 hour. So now I'll stop at 10, then I'll stop at 11, then I'll stop finally at 12. And whatever doubts you have, you can ask me. How to write research papers. The first thing, selecting a journal. Okay, now in my early years, what I used to do is I used to think that I can learn stats and get my paper published. If any of you are thinking that I will go and attend an FTP of structural equational modeling, it's a complicated technique, Then I'll put structural equational modeling into my paper and my paper will get published. You are mistaken. I have done it and got some 8 rejections of the same paper in a go. Reason, 7 of the rejections out of 8 was your topic is not appropriate to the journal. Okay. How do you avoid this? I will let you know. When I come to topic selection, I will let you know. I'll take you to Google Scholar and I'll let you know. Selecting a journal. If I am writing a paper on sustainability, the journal is Journal of Business Ethics, Journal of Sustainability, Business and Society. These are the journals. If I am writing on impact of religion on purchase intention, ethical concern on purchase intention, these are consumer behavior topics. So the right journal is Journal of Consumer Behavior, Journal of Consumer Policy, Journal of Customer Satisfaction, International Journal of Consumer Studies. These are the journals I should follow. So for your study, which is the appropriate journal, 2 or 3, please select them. After selecting them, get a paper from them. Okay. So one paper from any of those 3 or 4 shortlisted journals, and please shortlist A grade journals. Let me tell you which are the lists which I use when I'm publishing paper or selecting a journal. There is a list called the ABDC list. Okay. ABDC is Australian Business Dean's List. This is a list generally followed in India. So IIMs follow ABDC and private colleges follow ABDC. Australian universities follow ABDC. There's a another list which is the UGC care list. Okay, all universities in India affiliated to the UGC follow that list. There is a third list which is called a SCOPUS list. Now this is what is important. Okay, when you publish a paper in PhD, it should minimum be UGC care or SCOPUS. I'm not saying go to a very hi-fi international list like an ABDC list or an ABS list. No, but minimum requirement for you people when you are giving your PhD viva, of course, it might vary university to university. UGC care and Scopus list. The journal has to be listed over here. If it is not listed, it is something that we call predatory journal, which is in Hindi we can say dhokebaz journal basically. Okay, so it is a journal which just has an ISBN number. It is of no use. Please don't waste your research on such journals. Please don't waste. If it is not listed in Scopus, if it is not listed in UGC Care, there is no use publishing in such a journal. So now you know, selecting a journal on the basis of your topic, selecting a journal on the basis of quality. What is the quality? Either it is Scopus listed or it is UGC Care listed, minimum. Okay. When you go to ABDC list or ABS list, there are levels of journal. Okay. What are the levels? A grade is topmost, A star is topmost, then A grade, ABS list. These are international lists which are followed by IIMs. Okay. So if you go to the ABS list, what are the journals? Category 4, which is highest, then 3, then 2, then 1. So when it comes to international lists like ABDC or ABS, there are categories, you know. Okay, A, B, C categories, A star, A, B, C. When you are selecting some 3 journals, say Journal of Consumer Behavior, Journal of Consumer Policy, International Journal of Consumer Behavior. I have selected these 3 journals. I will select these journals only and only from A grade lists. There's a difference between what I'm talking. I'm not saying submit your paper straight away to an A grade. You people are still learning. You can submit your paper to a C grade first. You can submit to UGC care. You can submit to Scopus. Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, before writing a paper, target your journal. The target journal should be A grade. The paper that you are using as a format should be A grade. Number one. Number two, once you have selected that paper, 2 or 3 papers from A grade, from your topic, from consumer behavior journals, please go according to that format. And what is that format? That is what I'm discussing right now. Okay, also, when you go to some regular issues of journals, there will be some regular issues and there will be some special issues. The percentage of getting your paper through in special issues is 50% more than in regular issues. Okay, so if it is a regular issue, what happens is, suppose it's a regular issue. Let me take a topic like human resource. Okay, human resource is a very huge topic, and there's a journal which says practices of human resource. Suppose this is the title of the journal. Now you are submitting your paper to this journal saying practices of human resource. Now, this is a very huge topic. Now, hundreds of people will be submitting their paper here. Thousands of people from all domains of human research will be submitting their paper here. Let me take another example. Journal of Criminal Law. All people who are working on criminal law will be submitting their paper here. Okay, but when there is a special issue, when there is a special issue in human resource, look at the issue that I've listed in the slide. New trajectories in worker voice, integration and application of contemporary challenges in the organization of work. Now, this is a special issue. What do you mean by a special issue? The topic has become very, very narrow. Now, this is not a normal human resource journal. Now, only and only papers which are working on contemporary challenges, new trajectories in worker voice, only those people who are working on worker voice, only those papers will be given here. Thus, the number of papers become lesser and your chances become better than a normal general journal. Okay, so this is what I wanted to explain to you, that ideally go for a special issue. The chances of getting through a special issue is faster. Okay, one more reason why I'm telling you go for a special issue is because the editor, see, your paper will first go to the editor. Okay, if the editor feels that your paper has some good topic, then it will go to review. Your paper will not go to review unless and until the editor does not think that there is something new, novel in your research. So everything boils down to the editor first. The first wall that you have to pass is the editor. So when you when you submit your paper in a general edition, in a normal edition of a journal, they have very high-fi editors. They have editors who are like A grade editors. Okay, for example, I wrote a paper on sustainability and I wanted to put it into a special issue of ethics and sustainability, but there was no special issue at that point of time when I made the paper. So what I did is I published it in the general issue of Journal of Business Ethics. Now, Journal of Business Ethics is an A grade journal, and I dared to submit it not in the special issue but the main issue, because there was no special issue related to my topic. It was on justification of unethical behavior and there was no special issue. I submitted it. While submitting it, I just had a look at the editors of the journal. Which journal? Not the special issue, the main journal. And those people were Dr. Scott Lamb and Dr. Deirdre Shaw, who are pioneers of sustainability, like we say, fathers of sustainability. Those people have been cited in my paper at least 10 times. And they were the editors of that main issue of the journal. So what I'm trying to make a point is that, of course, the paper did get through the editor, but it did not get through the reviewer. It got rejected. I'll show you the rejections also. But what I'm trying to say is that when you take an A grade journal and you want to submit in an A grade journal, and you want to submit in the main issue, the general issue, the editors are too known. The editors of a general issue are too known. They are too known to even get through. But when the same thing becomes a special issue, okay, because it's very niche. The topic is very niche. So what happens is the editor is not that known. The editor is not that hi-fi. Thus, in a special issue, the chances of getting through are more. This is the reason why you should always look for a special issue and start making a paper for a special issue of a targeted journal. Okay, next. Okay, now I have to take you to the title of the paper. So I'll have to stop sharing. I think I'll have to go to the paper. So just give me a minute. I'll just show you a few sample papers. I'm just sharing the screen with you. I will have to switch screens very often because I'm going to go to papers. Yeah, so can everybody, I hope everybody can see this. Okay. This is a paper of an A grade journal. Okay, I hope it is visible. This is a paper of an A grade journal. Let me come to the first point. Okay, what is the first point? Title of the paper. What should the title show? What should the title show? The title should show all the variables you are studying. Okay, nowadays there are there are bizarre variables people are working on. Okay, in HR, there is one bizarre variable which has come up, which is called abusive supervision. In artificial intelligence, there are other bizarre variables coming up. Okay, in neuromarketing, this is a new marketing field. There are bizarre variables coming up like the pupil size, the pupil size of the customer. Okay, so people are working on new domains. If there is something which has already been studied, okay, it is of no use to me. So that bizarre variable, okay, please put it in your title. Okay, now look at the title. It will always tell the variable that you are studying, number one, and the place where you are studying. Okay, so predicting tourists' health risk preventive behavior. Look at it. Health risk preventive behavior. When you go for travel, when tourists go for travel, how many of them really even think about health risk prevention? Okay, when you're on a tour, uh, you're a little free, you're a little free. You probably, even if you're diet conscious, you'll eat more because okay, you're on a travel, you're on a leisure trip. Okay, but there are people who, even at a trip, even at a leisure, they have this health risk preventive behavior. A new term, a new study, a new variable, niche variable. And where has he done it? He's done it in Tibet. He cannot do it for the whole world. No research can be done for the whole world. If you think a research can be generalized to the whole world, you are mistaken. No, it cannot. So the title clearly tells you what he's studying. Number one, the title clearly tells you which country he's studying it, which is Tibet. So these two things have to be there in the title. I have come across very funny titles also, and I'm talking about published papers. I'm not talking about papers which are made. I'm talking about papers which are published. For example, nowadays I see an upsurge of some very lucrative titles. For example, there was one paper I saw. It said, I don't use LEDs, but I switch off lights. A study of green behavior in India. I'll repeat the topic for you. The topic was, he said, I don't buy LED lights, but I switch off the lights. A study of green behavior in India. Okay, now these are very lucrative topics, and these are nowadays I see an upsurge of them. There was another paper which I saw wherein the title was, Why Don't the Consumers Walk the Talk? I repeat, why don't the consumers walk the talk? What they meant to say by this is that despite the fact the consumer knows that this product is going to harm the environment, and when you ask the consumer, will you buy it? He says no, but then he again goes and buys it. For example, the green crackers in Diwali in India. If you ask someone, will you buy green crackers? Yes, we will buy green crackers. The moment it is Diwali and you don't get green crackers, you buy the other crackers which cause pollution. So the title, this was what he was explaining. And the title of the paper was, Why Don't Consumers Walk the Talk? So apart from these traditional titles, okay, which are listed where you have a variable, where you have a place of research, these titles are also becoming common, which I just listed to you. Okay, so based on the journal, now that you've selected a journal, read a few papers from that journal in your domain and then decide a topic. But ideally, your topic, I am in favor of writing a topic like this because my variable is there, and very clearly my country in which I'm working is also there. So if there's anybody, any, see, research is done for managers. Research is not done to get papers published and then get promoted in the organization. No, research is done so that it can lead to an input to someone. So this research will be an input for all the tourism companies which operate in Tibet. So the title should tell them that, come, read me, I will be beneficial for you. Okay, so that is the relevance of the topic. I'll not go back to the PPT because it will be switching. I'll go back to the PPT just once. Let me explain the things from this paper itself. The second thing which is there on my PPT is something called keywords. Okay, these are the keywords. This is the second thing you have to do. And one general instruction I would like to give you is, don't hurry up with submitting your paper. Okay, sometimes, it's, I mean, I've seen a script which came to me from my PhD scholar, ma'am, I'm submitting this paper. It straight away started from introduction. It didn't even have the title. And I said, dear, it doesn't have a title. It doesn't have an abstract. It doesn't have the keywords. So he made me an abstract and sent me. I said, what is the title? So the student is telling me, ma'am, वो तो अभी मैंने सोचा नहीं. मैंने कहा चलो कोई बात नहीं, पूरा पेपर खत्म हो गया, अब तो सोचो, टाइटल तो दोगे ही ना जर्नल को, बिना टाइटल के तो जर्नल नहीं करेगी ना. सो ही मेड द टाइटल लेटर ऑन. So what I'm trying to say is, don't be in a rush to submit your paper. Okay, please go back to that sample paper which you had selected in the beginning. See if you have covered all the points that were there in that paper. For me, this is a sample paper. For me, this is an A grade Elsevier publication, Scopus listed sample paper, if I have to work on something called tourism. So I'll go back to the paper and check if everything has been done or not. Now coming to keyword. What is the role of keyword? The role of keyword is citations, basically. Okay. Although we do say that if a student is working on this topic, he should be able to find my paper on Google Scholar or on Google. That is the purpose of citation. But actually, That is a hidden perspective. The reason why I put keywords, or I put keywords by which my paper gets found very soon, is because one, that a researcher looking for it, a PhD student looking for it, should be able to find it. Number one. Number two, uh, the more the students find me, the more the students will cite me. I repeat, the more the students will find me, the more the students will cite me. So, in case I put keywords with which the student can find my paper on Google Scholar more often, more appropriately, more the chances that the student will use my research in his paper or PhD, more the chances that the student will now start citing me, and my citations increase. If more people are citing you, your citations increase. So that is the reason why I keep keywords. The keywords have to be very, very related. So when I write keywords, I think of people who can cite me. So a person who's writing on theory of planned behavior can cite this paper. A person who's writing on travel health can cite the paper. The person has also given a keyword Tibet. So any person who wants to make, who wants to see a research done in Tibet, it might not be tourism, it might be from any other product, can view my paper if I give the keyword Tibet in it. So that is the way the keywords have been chosen. Let's come to the next thing. Abstract. Initially, when I started research, I used to think, and maybe half of you also think, that abstract is supposed to be an introduction of the research. Abstract में हमें सिर्फ ये बताना होता है कि हम research में कर क्या रहे हैं. No, it is not that. In an abstract, we have to show from introduction till conclusion everything in 200 words. I repeat, in the abstract, we have to show introduction to conclusion, everything in 200 words, and it's not easy. It's not easy. I generally write the abstract. Many of you might be thinking that an abstract is written before the paper. You are mistaken. An abstract is written after you have written the whole paper. Okay, so an abstract is written only when the whole paper has been written and it has been finished. So let's go to the abstract and read it. I'll explain what I'm saying. If you read it, take 2 minutes and just read the abstract. Please read this abstract. Take 2 minutes. I hope you've read it. Okay. Now, let me see, where is my introduction chapter? He'll have written just one line of introduction. So this is my introduction chapter, these 2 lines. Please read them again. These 2 lines are my introduction chapter. Please read it. Having said that, an introduction chapter tells the gap in research. And these 2 lines in the abstract are also talking about gap in research, novelty of the paper. Okay, let me go to the second line, this line. This paper explores the relationship underlying travel's health behavior, blah, 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 blah. This chapter is my review of literature because this line is telling me the variables that I have studied. So, health belief, attitude, self-efficacy, preventive behavior, traveling satisfaction at high altitude destinations. These are all my variables. And if I go forward in the paper, all these will have been defined with authors in the review of literature chapter. Okay, so this is my chapter number 2, review of literature. Just a minute. Let me go to line number 3. Please read line number 3. Line number 3 says, Tibet in China was chosen as a case and the data was analyzed by so and so, so and so. This is one line of chapter number 3, research methodology. Let me go to the next line. Very clear? I think this is very clear. Please read this line. Take a minute. Read this line. Okay. Now, the results show that perceived susceptibility and perceived benefit can be graded as so and so, so and so, whatever he's saying. Now, this line is showing the results part. Chapter number 4, result and finding. Okay. And these are also 2 lines showing the final findings and conclusion of the research. Please read them. Okay. Now, if you have read this abstract line by line, the way I told you, you will know that abstract is not just the introduction, it is actually the crux of or the summary of the 6,000 words paper. That is what is an abstract. An abstract is not an introduction. For those of you who are submitting an abstract to an IIM conference or for a research paper, an abstract is something generally we write at the end of the paper. I cannot write an abstract till the time I have not finished my paper. How will I write? Unless and until I have not reached findings, unless and until I have not reached conclusions, how will I write those lines in my abstract? You have just seen it has lines of findings, it has lines of conclusion. So that's an abstract for you. Now let me come to my first chapter, introduction. Okay, we'll go para by para because I mean, after doing these many papers, now I know that there is a set pattern of a paper. And if you understand that set pattern and how to write in that set pattern, half the battle is won. Okay, then it is subjectivity. It's up to the editor, it's up to the reviewer if he feels what you've written is important or not, what you've researched is important or not. But the first thing is follow that pattern. If you don't follow that pattern, there is no way the paper can get published. Okay, now let me come to introduction. Here I would stop for a minute and share my PPT again. Okay, so let us see where we have reached. Title: compose a title that is simple, attractive, it reflects the investigation. What do I mean by reflect the investigation? I mean that it should be showing the variables I'm working on, like I showed you in the paper. Phrases which you have to avoid: investigation, study, novel, facile, avoid these phrases. Okay, and avoid a very specialized community. So You could write a paper on India. Okay, so and so study a study of Tibet, so and so study a study of India. But within India, within Punjabis, there is a super specialized community called Khatris. Do not write so and so a study of Khatris. That is what they mean by saying do not include a specialized community in a title, include a country, include a city. People include New Delhi. There is research I have seen on Bhopal. Agreed. But a super specialized community or a super specialized, do not include that. Coming to the next thing, keyword that I've told you, you have to think yourself, you have to put yourself into the shoes of a surfer and think what will be the keyword he will type with which my paper will open. Number 3, abstract. It is short, generally 200 and 250 words. Okay, an abstract does not include references. This is something which is very important. Many of us think that whatever we are saying, we have to say with reference. Agreed, but not in the abstract. Strict no to references in abstract. No in-text references in abstract. The same thing you saw just now in the paper also. Okay, major findings to be listed, all that we have done. Introduction. Now, what does the introduction do? An introduction traces previous work on the subject and sets up a problem. So, what are you going to do? Generally, when I teach my students, my graduation students, I tell them in introduction, you have the rationale of doing the research. Why are you doing that research? Why did you select that topic? What is the need of putting in so much of money? And I always tell them that then when they come to the jury, when they come to the presentation, and you people will also have to do it. It's not my graduation students, you people will also have to do it in your first DMC. In your first DMC, when you take a title, when you take a topic, the first thing they are going to ask you is tell us all the past research done on this topic. Number one. The second thing they are going to ask you is what is new in your topic which has not been done in the past? Number 3, how do you intend to fulfill the gap in literature through this one topic selected? Number 4, what are the managerial implication of this topic? Which means if you are studying this topic, what is the implication for a manager? Now let me take an example. Sorry, I have a bad throat. Yeah. So let me take an example. I want to do something on boss subordinate relationship. I want to do a PhD in human resource. I want to do something on boss subordinate relationship. I say, okay, I searched papers, many papers, and I found out something called abusive supervision. Okay. Now, I will have to tell the committee all that has been done in the boss subordinate relationship ever since the past 20 years. Then I will tell the committee abusive supervision is still understudied. Abusive supervision still has less papers, less research, scant research has been done on abusive supervision. So I have chosen this topic. Okay. Further, I will also explain once I work on abusive supervision, how will this topic be useful for the managers? So, in India, there is a lot of what I write in introduction? In India, there are a lot of companies which are applying abusive supervision. But this research will tell them whether application of abusive supervision is having a positive effect or is having a negative effect on the subordinate's efficiency. Okay, this is all that you have to tell the committee for your particular topic. This is all that you have to write in the introduction part of your paper. If any of you thought that introduction part consists of review of literature, all those who got confused between introduction and review of literature, this is where it will get cleared. So let's go back to our paper. So this is our paper. Now I will list some paragraphs and you just take 1 minute to read it. I'm just listing a few paragraphs. I'm not listing all paragraphs. Okay, one odd paragraph, and just take a minute to read it. So please read this paragraph. Everybody is going to read, please, and tell me, give a name to this paragraph. Let's make it a little participative, not one sided. Read this paragraph and give it a name. My eyes are on the chat box. All participants, read this paragraph, give it a name. Everybody, please try. Okay. Define and content, travel, risk, uncertainty. Okay. Uh, um, I'll give you one example. Okay, this is a very common marketing ad you all must have seen. It's a little comical क्योंकि सैटरडे मॉर्निंग है और आप सब यहाँ हैं और थोड़ा सा इसमें एक थोड़ा सा कॉमिक रिलीफ ले आते हैं. There is this ad which I was seeing on a web on this TV channel called नापतोल. आप सबने देखी होगी. आप लिखते रहो, अपना जो भी रीड करके लिखते रहो और साथ में सुनते रहिए. एक बड़ी ही ना कॉमन ऐड देखी है मैंने और मैं अपने ग्रेजुएशन के बच्चों को ये पैराग्राफ, इसका नाम मैं अभी नहीं बताऊंगी, मैं ऐसे ही समझाऊंगी, आप मुझे नाम देंगे. एक बड़ी कॉमन ऐड है नापतोल पे. एक ना बेल्ट आती है, मतलब वो पतले होने वाली बेल्ट आती है, ठीक है, वाइब्रेटर बेल्ट. उसको आप स्टमक पे लगा लो, वाइब्रेटर ऑन कर लो और आप खुद ब खुद पतले, हाँ हाँ, समथिंग लाइक अ शोना बेल्ट, आप खुद ब खुद पतले हो जाओगे. That is what they say. लेकिन before selling it, the lines are the lines which has to be put in introduction. Please hear out the lines in a very comic sense. एक बहुत ही huge, I mean huge as an overweight person is portrayed in the ad. और वो ad कुछ इस तरह शुरू होती है. If any of you are not okay with Hindi, please do write in the chat. If you are open, if you are okay with bilingual, then it's okay. If any of you are not okay with Hindi, please do write me. हाँ, तो उस ad कैसे शुरू होती है अगर आप कभी नोटिस करना. एक बड़ा ही ह्यूज ओवरवेट इंसान ले आते हैं और फिर क्या कहते हैं, मैं बड़ा परेशान था. आप सब, अगर आपके पास एक नोटबुक है, प्लीज इस लाइन को लिख लीजिए. इस लाइन को लिख लीजिए, मैं बड़ा परेशान था. प्लीज राइट दिस लाइन and please remember it when you are presenting your introduction to the committee. And let me go forward with what he says. मैं बड़ा परेशान था, मेरा मोटापा दिन दुगना रात चौगुना बढ़ रहा था, लोगों ने मुझे देखना बंद कर दिया था, मेरी बीमारियां बढ़ रही थी, मेरे में कॉन्फिडेंस गुम हो गया था. ओवर एग्जैजुरेशन ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम. और फिर मुझे मिली ये शोना बेल्ट XYZ कंपनी की. यस सेंथिल सर, यू गॉट इट, यू गॉट इट. This paragraph is a paragraph where the researcher is saying कि पास्ट रिसर्चर्स बड़े परेशान थे। हेल्थ टूरिज्म एक 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 प्रॉब्लम है, हेल्थ टूरिज्म जरूरी है, हेल्थ टूरिज्म ट्रैवल वालों के लिए एक इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक है। This is nothing but what we call a problem statement, and very famously known as rationale. Rationale. Why are you doing the research? Yes, Srivastav sir, you want to ask something? If you all can unmute, please. Please unmute, and if you want to ask
I'm
something,
sorry.
please go ahead.
Actually, I clicked the button by mistake.
Okay, no problem. If there is any point you guys want to please, I would like it to be an interactive session. Otherwise, it's no use. So, the rationale. प्रॉब्लम क्या है? वो भाई साहब नापतोल पे परेशान थे। क्यों परेशान थे? आप एज ए रिसर्चर परेशान हो, आप कह रहे हो दुनिया परेशान है, मैं अपनी रिसर्च आगे ला रहा हूं। ठीक है, आपका रिसर्च पेपर कुछ नहीं है, वो शोना बेल्ट है, और उसको बेचने के लिए आपको एडिटर को ये बताना पड़ेगा कि एक प्रॉब्लम है इंडस्ट्री में और उसके लिए पेपर नहीं है, और मेरा पेपर एक शोना बेल्ट बन के उनकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करेगा। दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट वी आर डूइंग थ्रू इंट्रोडक्शन। सो इफ यू just see the words, see the negative words in the paragraph. Travel is a complicated process, high degree of vulnerability, unsystematic risk, okay, health risk, endanger the safety, all negative words being used. Is it sounding similar to the script of that shona belt guy? मैं बड़ा परेशान था, मुझे लाइफ में कुछ भी नहीं दिख रहा था, लोग मुझे देख नहीं रहे थे, हाँ, और मेरा मोटापा दिन दुगना बढ़ रहा था, और फिर so this is the problem statement in introduction. In introduction, you start with the rationale. You start with the problem that you are addressing. Okay, so this whole the first paragraph will be the problem. So if you are talking about artificial intelligence, suppose can can you tell me any one मैं परेशान था statement for artificial intelligence topics? Any one statement. If you are writing on artificial intelligence, what should be your first line? Any one line you all can write. If I am doing a study on artificial intelligence, any segment, sector, what problem line? How could I start my introduction? Take a minute, think, and give me one line. आर्टिफिशियल इंडस्ट्री में जहां जहां वो कौन सी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर है, और उसी को लाइन बना के इंट्रोडक्शन डाल दीजिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, let me yes, waste of time and repetition. Let me give you an example. Garments, okay, in garments, when I'm doing online purchase, ठीक है, आजकल आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस किस लिए यूज हो रही है? आजकल आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस ऐसे यूज हो रही है कि आप एक गारमेंट देखेंगे, आप अपनी एक पिक्चर उस वेबसाइट पे डाल देंगे, आपका जिस तरह का बॉडी फिगर है, गारमेंट आप पे कैसा लगेगा, वो पिक्चर फॉर्म में वेबसाइट में आपको नजर आ जाएगा. 1. नंबर 2, जो मॉडल की पिक्चर है, अगर वो सिर्फ लाल रंग की है, ठीक है, और आप येलो, पिंक कलर, व्हाइट कलर, ब्लैक बॉडी पे काले लाल रंग में वो ड्रेस कैसे लगेगी, वो भी वहां पर एक क्लिक पे हो जाता है. ऑल दिस आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. तो अब आप कैसे स्टार्ट करोगे अपनी प्रॉब्लम? हाउ विल यू स्टार्ट? There are a lot of brands in the fashion market. The customer is wanting to try a particular garment on his body. He does not suffice with the standard sizes given by the brand, and thus artificial intelligence could solve this problem. Is this example understood? I want a yes from all those who are hearing me, please. अभी जो मैंने आपको एग्जाम्पल इंटेलिजेंस का दिया, is was it understand? ठीक है, तो आपको बात समझ आ गई ना, रैशनल क्या है समझ आ रहा है ना, ठीक है, ग्रेट. ओके, आई हैव गॉट एन एग्जांपल आल्सो. Copyright, okay. Shubhi ma'am has given an example. Copyright provides vesting of rights in a natural person in lieu of creation of work. However, the issue gets complicated. Very good, ma'am. You've given us a problem. में आप जब भी इंट्रोडक्शन लिखना चाहें, आप वो लाइन याद रखें, मैं बड़ा परेशान था, और उसको इतना एग्जैजरेट करना है. अभी आप देखिए कैसे एग्जैजरेट करता है. सो आई थिंक दैट is understood, the rationale is understood. Now let me go to next paragraph. So this same paragraph he's taking further. He's saying, furthermore, the increasing information and improve of people health has become a significant. He's just explaining rationale. आगे चलिए. Tourist suffers from a disease or encounters a danger during trip, it can pose problem for others and suppliers. Again problem. अभी तक ये परेशान है भाई साहब, अभी तक ऑथर परेशान है, अभी तक अपने परेशानी ही बता रहे हैं. ठीक है. एंड फाइनली here comes the Shona belt. Please read this statement. Here comes the Shona belt. ठीक है, पढ़ लिया, लाइन पढ़ ली? Yes, please.
I'm really confused as to, how do you how differently in an abstract, in an introduction, and in a statement of problem. The common structure that I get is the first paragraph or the first few lines describe as to what ideally is happening in a sector, or a very generalized introduction in some manner. Then it goes on to problematize it, saying as to what are the problems, and then somehow the last few lines try to sell you the paper as to how this paper would address that problem.
Yes.
Now this is a common structure that I think I have found in both intro, even in statement of problem.
No, sir, not an abstract, sir.
Okay.
Abstract has just explained. Abstract lists the research methodology, the finding, the conclusion. An introduction chapter does not include all.
All right.
That is what I was explaining. See abstract. See the abstract. This first line, few studies have been done, is it taken introduction chapter. मैं बड़ा परेशान था, theory. The second line, this chapter explores this variable, is chapter number 2, review of literature. Okay.
Yes,
This line, Tibet in China was chosen for the case study. This is nothing but sampling. It is research methodology.
Yes.
The results show so and so, so and so. This is nothing but chapter number 4, result. Moreover, this is nothing but chapter number 5, conclusions, finding. So abstract does not include only the industry problem.
All right.
Right. Now let's come to introduction. In introduction, with the problem. So you Shanta, okay, and then come to the Shona. You have to come to the Shona belt within the first paragraph. Don't, because otherwise the reader will get, he'll say ये तो problem ही बताए जा रहे हैं, problem ही बताए जा रहे हैं. When will he come to his topic? And this is actually the topic. This is actually your topic. So having said that, even when you are going to your committee, if you have gone to your DMC, your first DMC, where I'm talking about the first year students, if there are any. So when you go to your DMC, they will always ask you that how is your research different from others? Okay, they always ask you how is your research different from others, and this is the answer for it. So first thing you have to do is you have to show that there is a problem in the study. You're not just doing a research for the heck of it. What is the problem? Once you show the problem, then come to your topic. So if it is something like abusive supervision, you will have to talk about India. You will have to talk about the relationship of a supervisor and a subordinate, and then say, thus, the study of abusive supervision becomes important, something that I've already highlighted in the paper. Okay, now, now you come to what has previously been done. So please, I would request you to take 5 minutes, read this paragraph, give it to me. My eyes are closed. Read this paragraph, take 5 minutes, give me it. Okay, I think most of you read it, and most of the answers are right. As a matter of the fact, this is past review of literature. Agreed, this is review of literature, but it is a little different from chapter number 2, and this is where we get caught. We don't understand कि इंट्रोडक्शन में कितना रिव्यू लिखना है और कितना नहीं लिखना. So now I'll tell you a differentiation between this chapter and chapter number 2, review of number 1. इंट्रोडक्शन में जो ये रिव्यू वाला चैप्टर, रिव्यू वाला छोटा सा पैराग्राफ होता है, वो केवल एक पैराग्राफ होता है. बाकी सारा जो आप डिटेल में थ्योरी, वेरिएबल, बीच का रिलेशन समझाते हैं रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर में, तो हम रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर का ये एक भी पैराग्राफ लिख रहे हैं. सम पीपल हैव आंसर्ड इट टू शो गैप. यस नदीम सर, टू शो द गैप. अब पहले फ्रेज, पहले परेशान था, मार्केट बड़ी परेशान थी, मार्केट में ये वेरिएबल चाहिए था, तो मैं हेल्थ रिस्क पे स्टडी कर रहा हूं. सेकेंड पैराग्राफ में मैं ये बताता हूं या बताती हूं कि ऑलरेडी मेजरली लोग स्टडी कर चुके हैं. अब ये एक कैच पॉइंट है. यहां एक पैराग्राफ में जरा ध्यान से देखिए, ईयर देखिए जरा, कौन से ईयर का वो बता रहे हैं. 94 से लेके 2000 तक सर्च पेपर 2020 का है, लेके 16, यानी ही इज रिटन अ लाइन मोस्ट प्रीवियस स्टडीज. उसने कहा है पिछले 90 जब से ये टॉपिक शुरू हुआ तब से लेकर अभी तक जितना काम हुआ है उसको एक पैराग्राफ में समराइज कर दिया है. Thus, this is not the detailed review of literature. This is just the past work done, summarized in one paragraph to reflect the gap. हम ये ग्राफ में 1980 2016 तक समझा रहे हैं ताकि हम आ सके कि क्या काम अभी रहता है, और वो जो रहता है मैं कर रहा हूं. दिस पर्पस ऑफ इज दिस पॉइंट. यस, प्लीज राइट अ यस, कैन गो फॉर. अगर ये बात आपको समझ आ गई तो आई कैन गो फॉरवर्ड. ठीक है, ग्रेट. सो दिस पैराग्राफ, इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ रिव्यू. सॉर्ट ऑफ रिव्यू 84 से लेके 2016 तक एक पैराग्राफ में खत्म कर दिया है. क्यों खत्म किया है? ताकि ये बता सकें कि क्या काम नहीं हुआ. ठीक है. नाउ there is a line which you will always get in papers. This is the line. Read it. ये है गैप. उस आपके बिल्कुल नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में आ जाता है. ठीक है. नाउ दे विल थोड़ा इंग्लिश बदल जाए इसका, लेकिन ये लाइन आपको, अच्छा ये मैं ये नहीं कह रही ये है, ये लाइन आपको भी डालनी है, अपने पीएचडी थीसिस में भी डालनी है, आपको अपने रिसर्च पेपर लाइन डालनी है. आप 5 रिसर्च खोल के देखिए, अगर ये लाइन आप कीजिए, लेकिन एक पेपर खोलिए, ए ग्रेड का पेपर खोलिएगा प्लीज. अगर आपको ये लाइन ना मिले तो मुझे बता दीजिएगा. Existing studies have so and so, so and so. Scant literature, yes, scant literature is present on so and so, so and so. Past research has not covered so and so, so and so. ये है gap. और इस gap को लिखने के लिए, to write this gap, many of my students give me this gap as plain sentence. No, sir. No, you are not allowed statement plain. You can only write this statement if you have a reference. Okay, so say my statement I'm writing is scant have done on justification of unethical behavior. Suppose I'm big statement, I can't make it, so I will have to give a reference. This is how I write this line. I've written it in the chat. And from where do you get this? Remember those 5 papers of your domain which you had taken from A grade journals of your topic? You will surely get these lines in those papers. Pick it up, cite the and rationale stronger by saying there is no past research which has studied. ठीक है, क्लियर है. ये लाइन ऐड करनी ही करनी, जब तक हम ये लाइन ऐड नहीं करते हमारा इंट्रोडक्शन कंप्लीट नहीं होता. एंड टेलिंग यू, इट्स जस्ट if you are learners, you might have not noticed that of introduction. This is a format in every paper. Just that after studying, after writing introductions, I've got to learn this format. It's difficult. In paragraphs में कहीं लिखा नहीं है, हाँ भाई यहाँ पर पहले आप बताएंगे प्रॉब्लम, फिर आप बताएंगे पास्ट रिसर्च, फिर आप बताएंगे गैप, फिर आप बताएंगे स्कैंट, यहाँ कहीं लिखा नहीं हुआ, कहीं भी नहीं लिखा हुआ, ये एक्सपीरियंस से ही आता है, आपको भी आ जाएगा। और अगर किसी ने पेपर ऑलरेडी पब्लिश किया है तो मैं जो बातें आपको, ठीक है, दिस लाइन हैज टू बी रिटन, ठीक है। एग्जिस्टिंग स्टडी में ये हुआ, लेकिन ये नहीं हुआ। नेक्स्ट आ जाते हैं, जस्ट रीड आउट फॉर यू, have to move a little faster. The theory of planned behavior and health belief are theoretical frameworks frequently used in the analysis. So, in the introduction itself, you have to pick up a past theory. आप कोई भी रिसर्च ऐसी नहीं करेंगे जो एक प्रीवियस थ्योरी पे बेस्ड ना हो। आई एम रिपीटिंग, in your PhD, when you are even submitting your topic, you have to say my topic is based on this theory. बोलना पड़ता है आपको, स्पेसिफाई करना पड़ता है। अब यहाँ पर मेरे PhD के स्टूडेंट्स मुझे पूछते हैं, मैम थ्योरी ऑफ प्लान्ड बिहेवियर ऑलरेडी एस्कर ने दे दी थी, उस पे इतने सालों से काम हो रहा है, तो मैं कर रहा हूँ। दैट आई टेल यू दिस आंसर, यू गो टू रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर, theory has to be as a base, compulsory चीज है ये। And there are I think maybe in when I was doing qualitative research in vivo, I don't know, I think I must have covered this, that a theory has to be taken as a base. I had taken I must have explained to you in vivo qualitative analysis also, that I started my analysis on sustainability of Indian consumers, especially वो जो old age लोग थे, ठीक है। बाद में मुझे पता चला ये 3R थ्योरी में फिट होता है, ठीक है, तो थ्योरी लेनी जरूरी है, ठीक है। सो यू डिस्क्राइबिंग द थ्योरी and its relevance when it comes to your context. Your context is health risk of tourism. This is your context. वो प्लान बिहेवियर 10 और जगह यूज हुई होगी, लेकिन इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट यूज हुई है। और अगर थ्योरी का नया कंट्रीब्यूशन दे रहे हैं, ठीक है, नया कंट्रीब्यूशन थ्योरी में ये नहीं होता कि एक नई थ्योरी बना दो, ये कंट्रीब्यूशन होता। अगर उस थ्योरी को आप किसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में स्टडी कर रहे हो, सपोज करिए वो बड़े कॉन्सेप्ट में प्रपोज हुई है लेकिन टूरिज्म कॉन्टेक्स्ट में स्टडी नहीं हुई, सो दैट इज आल्सो अ प्लस पॉइंट। Okay, I hope this much is clear. So this is the introduction part, okay, and then you explain a little about, for example, ये हमें जरूर होता है, हम इंडस्ट्री डेटा, ओके, ये नहीं, आई थिंक दिस मच, ठीक है, ये डेटा देना बहुत जरूरी है। इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ द रैशनल, एक्चुअली it is a part of the rationale. So in will see this data, this in the first paragraph, जहां थे ना कि मैं बड़ा परेशान था and all that, see this statistical data in the first para also, ठीक है। प्लेसमेंट as per yourself, फ्लो आनी, जो स्टडी है उसकी फ्लो सही होनी चाहिए, ठीक है। दिस ends your introduction chapter, okay, this ends your introduction chapter. Now come to the second chapter, okay, and what is the second chapter? After introduction, also call it review of literature. We also call it theory, okay, so many names to, okay, it is common to literature review of literature, theoretical framework, past concepts, any name can be given. Let us see this in the paper that I'm showing you. So this is the paper and the chapter is named Related Concepts and research hypothesis. So he doesn't use the word, and it is not necessary. If you're going to ask me, ma'am, what is the best word suited for it, I will not tell you that, because different journals have different, and according to your paper, you could probably say related concepts or anything that you want to. All right. So, that is about it. All right. So related concepts and research hypothesis. Now we'll not come to hypothesis. In related concepts, if it is a statistical paper, let me show you. This chapter will be different for a statistical paper, different for a qualitative paper, different for a quantitative paper. It will vary. This is the only chapter which varies, okay, with papers. So what does this person do in this chapter? Let me tell you. This is a quantitative paper. I will give you an example of this chapter in a qualitative paper also. Okay, but let me explain this chapter, review of literature. If any of you are going to do a quantitative research in PhD, okay, you will have to make something called a model. Okay, having said that, this is something called a conceptual model. This conceptual model is different from a theoretical model. Can any of you tell me what was the theoretical model which this guy had chosen in chapter number 1? And I have underlined those lines also. Can anybody tell me what was the theoretical model that this person had used? Can you name the model? Can you even name a word of that model? Which was the theoretical model? I told you a theoretical model is important to pick up. Can anybody tell which was the theoretical model he picked up? I had underlined that line. Anybody? I just showed you. I'll go back and I'll go back and show you, because that is important. Now, can you tell me which model has been used? Now, can I know on the chat if you can see the paper? Now, can I know on the chat which model was used? Which theoretical model has been taken as a base? Am I audible? I've even underlined the line. Can anybody tell me which theoretical model has been taken as a base? I've even underlined the lines in the paper.
Ma'am, there are some answers in the chat.
I can't see the chat, ma'am, somehow. I don't know. Can you read out the answers? I somehow can't see the chat.
Ma'am, majority of them are writing HBM, health belief model.
Yes.
And there is one answer
Yes.
is TBP. Then Isha is saying
So
that it
somehow
is
I can't
theory of.
see the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Ma'am, I can't see my chat. So in case something like this happens, tell me, huh? Because I don't know why I can't see the chat.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Right. Huh. Okay, so all of you are right. Theory of planned behavior, health belief model. This is the theoretical model which has been taken. So then, when I come to review of literature chapter, why is he showing a conceptual model? Okay, now let me tell you what is a conceptual model. This is only for those people who are going to do quantitative research. For those who are going to do qualitative research, things will be different. I'll show them. But for those who are doing quantitative research, please hear me out. And many of you are going to do this. Many of you are going to do structural equational modeling. Many of you are going to construct a conceptual model. Many of you are going to list hypotheses and things like that. Please, this will be critical for you. So he built a conceptual model. Now, what is a conceptual model? Conceptual model is nothing but adding a few variables to an existing theory. For example, the theory of planned behavior and another theory which he has used They say that attitude and self-efficacy leads to preventive behavior and then to satisfaction. This was the original model. Okay, original model as in original theoretical model. My contribution, conceptual model shows my contribution. So the variables that you see on the left side, perceived susceptibility, perceived severity, perceived benefit. This is my contribution. Not there in the original theory of planned behavior. This is my contribution. And these three variables, which I am studying in the theoretical model TPB, which was not studied by anyone else in the past, is my contribution or my gap to research. And those relationships I will show as a diagram in conceptual model. Conceptual model is also very common as extended theoretical model. I repeat, a conceptual model is something made by the researcher, made by me, proposed by me, for me, and it is also called an extended theoretical. Is this clear? I hope this much is clear. Okay. Now, what is my contribution? My contribution is perceived susceptibility, perceived severity, perceived effects, attitude. This is my hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? I am proposing this relationship, but you cannot propose this relationship unless and until at least 3 to 4 authors already haven't proposed it. I am repeating, and I'll explain it with the written part also. I'll pick up this and I'll show you the paragraph how. Okay, so you cannot pick up any hypothesis or any relationship by saying मेरा मन कर रहा था, मुझे लगता है कि ये वेरिएबल को इफेक्ट करेगा, ऐसी स्टेटमेंट ना, जब तक पीएचडी का रिसर्च प्लीज सोचना भी मत, ठीक है। बड़ी बार मेरे पीएचडी के स्टूडेंट्स, मैं उनको बोलती हूँ कॉन्सेप्चुअल मॉडल बनाओ, क्योंकि कॉन्सेप्चुअल मॉडल बना के लाएंगे तो मुझे पता वो 3 नए वेरिएबल्स कौन से हैं जो वो एक ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग थ्योरेटिकल मॉडल में डाल रहे हैं। जब वो बना के लाते हैं, कम से कम नहीं तो 5-6 ले आते हैं, और मैं कहती हूँ ये 5-6 पीछे पास्ट लिटरेचर कह रहा है कि ये इफेक्ट करते हैं। नहीं मैम, 3 का तो लिटरेचर कह रहा है, और 3 मैम मेरा मन कर रहा है कि मैं इनका रिलेशनशिप देख लूं। तो लेट मी इन्फॉर्म, आप अपनी सुन सकते, आपकी मन की नहीं सुन सकते। आपको पीछे जब तक ऑथर नहीं कहते कि ये फैक्टर उसको इंपैक्ट करता है, तब तक आप अपनी मन की नहीं सुन सकते। एंड आई रियली व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, ठीक है। लेट मी गो टू एक हाइपोथेसिस पे हम चलते, ठीक है। लेट मी गो टू हाइपोथेसिस 5। आप ये स्टेटमेंट जरा पर, देयर इज अ पॉजिटिव रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन perceived benefit and preventive behavior, ठीक है। ये एक हाइपोथेसिस है, ठीक है, जो मैंने कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल में डाला। पहले मैं एक नया वेरिएबल लेके आई, परसीव्ड बेनिफिट, फिर मुझे लगता है परसीव्ड बेनिफिट परसीव्ड बिहेवियर पे इंपैक्ट करेगा, और वो एरो भी H5 करके मॉडल में दिखाई गई है। नाउ मेक दिस, आई विल हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड पास्ट रिव्यू लिटरेचर। मुझे जाना पड़ेगा पास्ट रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर में, और वहां से देखना पड़ेगा कौन कौन से ऑथर थे जिन्होंने इस रिलेशनशिप को पॉजिटिव। Only if I get 4 authors, only then I propose it as a hypothesis. इस पे अगर किसी को कोई सवाल है तो प्लीज म्यूट करिए और बोलिए। मेरा एक सवाल था, जब मुझे सर डॉक्टर अजय चौहान से मैं पढ़ी हूँ, जब वो मुझे ये बात समझा रहे थे तो मेरा एक सवाल था उनसे। मैंने कहा सर एक बात बताइए, जब जैज एंड बेकर, चेन एंड ली एट ऑल, ग्रिसवुड, इन चारों ने ही इसमें रिलेशनशिप प्रूव किया हुआ है, तो मैं क्या कर रही हूं? मेरा एक बहुत बड़ा, सर मैं ये हाइपोथेसिस जब चार लोगों ने प्रूव, तो मैं क्या कर रही हूं? तो उन्होंने मुझे ये जवाब दिया था कि जो कॉम्बिनेशन आप लगा रहे हो, यहां पर 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 वेरिएबल्स हैं, ट्विटर और क्रिस क्रॉस कॉम्बिनेशंस आ रहे हो, वो इन चारों ऑथर्स, ये हाइपोथेसिस 5 का यूनिक नहीं है, लेकिन ये कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल आपका अपना है और यूनिक है, और किस पेपर में इस तरह का कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल नहीं चाहिए. I hope this much is understood. Now, my next point, which is कि hypothesis आप कैसे लिखते हो? रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर करके लिखते हो. तो ये जो रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर का चैप्टर होता है या थ्योरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क का चैप्टर होता है, इसमें आप हाइपोथेसिस नहीं लिख सकते, आप पास्ट लिटरेचर उस हाइपोथेसिस बता नहीं देते हैं. और कैसे बताते हैं? ये देखिए, ये बताया है उन्होंने अबाउट हाइपोथेसिस 5. Perceived benefit is perceived effectiveness of protective actions available in reducing risk. Jazz and behavior will be influence perceived benefits for preventive. Chen and Lin, ऐसे 4 ऑथर्स उन्होंने दिए हैं. अब तक ये 4 ऑथर्स आपके पास नहीं है, आई एम रिपीटिंग, आप ये हाइपोथेसिस रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर चैप्टर में फ्रेज नहीं कर सकते. नाउ गोइंग बैक टू माय पीएचडी स्टूडेंट्स, मैम मेरा मन कहता है, बड़ी बेचारे बच्चे हैं ना, बड़ी प्यारी लाइंस लेके आते हैं, इवन मेरे ग्रेजुएशन के स्टूडेंट्स, मैम देखो प्रिवेसी तो पे है मैडम, ये तो इसमें मैं ऑथर क्यों लेके आऊं? प्रिवेसी और सिक्योरिटी तो मैम ये तो कॉमन सेंस है. आई स्टिल टेल देम, चाहे जितनी मर्जी कॉमन सेंस क्यों ना हो, मुझे सेज हु लाके दो, ऑथर्स फ्रॉम पास्ट लिटरेचर. ये 4 ऑथर्स ने जो कहते हैं कि प्रिवेसी एंड सिक्योरिटी रिलेटेड, तब तक आप अपने कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल में उसको हाइपोथेसिस नहीं ले सकते. This is my strict instructions to my graduate students, to my postgraduate students, to my PhD students. And this is exactly what you have to do, not only in a research paper, dear, these things are going to come in your PhD thesis also. अपने मन से कोई वेरिएबल लेना आप नहीं कर सकते. मुझे ये पूछ, मैम मेरा मन कहता है कि समथिंग इज देयर एंड उसका कोई प्रूफ नहीं है, तो मैं क्या करूं? That is the time I will suggest you study Malhotra and Dad और सॉन्स एंड लुइस, इन 3 बुक्स में बड़े क्लियर किया है एक्सप्लोरेटरी रिसर्च क्या होती है, डिस्कवरी क्या होती है. ये रिसर्च पेपर इस वक्त खुला हुआ है, क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च का ये डिस्क्रिप्टिव है, और इसमें डिस्क्रिप्टिव में जो वेरिएबल प्रेजेंट होता है आप सिर्फ उसको डिस्क्राइब कर सकते हैं, आप कोई नया वेरिएबल नहीं ले सकते हैं. अगर आपको मन कहता है कि समथिंग विल इफेक्ट एटीट्यूड और आपको पास्ट में कोई लिटरेचर उसका नहीं मिल रहा, हैव टू डू एक्सप्लोरेटरी रिसर्च टेक्निक. ठीक है, एक्सप्लोरेटरी आई विल नॉट टेक अप हियर, आप उसको पीछे जाके पढ़िए कि एक्सप्लोरेटरी रिसर्च टेक्निक क्या होती है. वो क्वांटिटी नहीं होती, उसमें हाइपोथेसिस नहीं होती, वो एक है. जब आप वेरिएबल पे का मन कर रहा है, एक्स लगा लेंगे और उसको पब्लिश करेंगे, सिर्फ तब आप वो वेरिएबल इस कॉन्सेप्चुअल के अंदर डाल सकते हैं. जब आप वो एक वेरिएबल जिसका आपको मन कर रहा था, आपको फील आ रही थी कि ये डल सकता था, ये एटीट्यूड को इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है मेरे पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से। ठीक है, हमारे यहाँ पर्ल एकेडमी में इंडस्ट्री के लोग हैं, वो कहते हैं मैम सप्लाई चेन को ये इफेक्ट करता है। मैं उनसे लड़के एकेडमिक्स में तो दिया नहीं हुआ, ऑथर्स ने कहा नहीं, तो वो कहते हैं मैडम हमें इंडस्ट्री 20 साल हो गए, हमें इंडस्ट्री में 20 साल हो गए, हमें पता है ये चीज इम्पैक्ट करती है, आपके एकेडमिक्स में नहीं हुआ। तो मैं उनको बोलती हूँ सर अगर है तो दिस पॉइंट वेरी वेरी बिग वेरिएबल, आप जाके इसकी एक्सप्लोरेटरी स्टडी करें, फिर उसको पब्लिश कराएं, फिर चाहे या कोई और रिसर्चर उसको कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल के अंदर डाल के क्वांटिटेटिवली टेस्ट करेगा, लेकिन पहले उस वेरिएबल को आप तो निकालिए, आप तो प्रूव करिए कि सप्लाई चेन को वो इफेक्ट करता है। कैसे प्रूव करेंगे? कोई पास्ट एकेडमिक वो नहीं है, एक्सप्लोरेशन से प्रूव करेंगे। तो आप जाके अब एक्सप्लोरेशन प्लीज ध्यान से पढ़ लीजिएगा। इफ यू वांट कि मेरा मन करता है कि समथिंग, इफ यू दैट दिस इज नॉट करता इज नॉट द क्राइटेरिया, आई वांट ऑथर्स। If you can't give me authors, if you say no, this research has never been done, it is a very very big gap and you can do explanation for it. Still cannot take that variable in the consideration. You don't get your research published in a journal. I hope this point is understood. ठीक, ये हो गया आपका रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर। ठीक है, नाउ इट इज 10:30, 10:32 rather. Okay, I'm on time. I'm opening the session to doubts. यहां तक कोई डाउट है तो प्लीज पहले अनम्यूट करिए और मुझे बताइए। एनी डाउट्स बडी इन स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम, हमने चूज किया एब्स्ट्रैक्ट, कीवर्ड, इंट्रोडक्शन पे, इंट्रोडक्शन में कई सारे कंपोनेंट्स थे, फिर हम रिव्यू ऑफ लिटरेचर पे इस वक्त खड़े हैं, कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल बनाए। कोई डाउट है तो प्लीज अनम्यूट करिए। डाउट रहे हैं तो डाउट कौन नहीं होंगे। कोई डाउट है तो प्लीज, अगर आपके कोई टॉपिक है तो प्लीज टेल मी, आई एम राइट हियर। आपके पास कोई वेरिएबल है, आपने अपनी पीएचडी में किया हुआ है, प्लीज आप मेरे से डिस्कस कर सकते हैं। अगर आपके कॉन्सेप्चुअल मॉडल बन चुके हैं या आप बनाने के प्रोसेस में हैं, कोई ऐसा वेरिएबल है जो आप डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं, द हाउस इज ओपन टू डिस्कशन, प्लीज अनम्यूट एंड डिस्कस। Dhanya, any can you see any questions on the chat or something?
Ma'am, there is one question from Nadim sir. Nadim sir, if you can unmute and
Unmute.
ask the question.
Please unmute. If any of you have already started variable, please tell me right here. I'll tell you, sir. Bataiye.
I think you have answered that. Asked about experiences, that how experience matter in studies like this. And you said that as in it matters when you are exploring the issue. So
Oh, yes.
you have to have a foundation in previous work to have it as a variable in the conceptual model. So I got it.
You can share, please share your topic and please let me know. Are you from the industry?
No, as in I am from only, as in
Okay.
I used to teach.
Okay.
So right now I am doing the PhD.
Okay.
My study is not quantitative in the sense, as in I am using the data from government agencies, but it's empirical. It's largely stopping from asking at this stage. Let other ask, and then I may have.
Can I know the topic of your research? What
my topic is custodial crimes and state responsibility. I am comparing in India and European Union.
Okay, so you are doing a descriptive study, Okay.
Yes.
This study is actually also descriptive or causal, but you are trying to do a descriptive study where you're comparing two. Okay.
Right.
So I think when you go forward with statistics, you will probably using an ANOVA test, if I'm not wrong. I don't know if you are
No, as
primary
in,
data. No.
no, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
so
not.
then, sir, I would suggest time series and panel data.
Yes, yes,
Please
I am
do.
using, I will do the time series thing.
Yes. So, sir, time data, there are FTPs by Dr. Yadav. Please do
Okay.
attend. Perfect for your type of
Thank you very
right.
much for this.
Anybody else who wants to discuss their topic, I can guide you on even which FTP you should be doing. Anybody?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, yes, please, please.
Ma'am, I want to look upon the implications of public policy considerations with respect to the enforcement of intellectual property rights. Right. So I'll give you an example. For example, we have been provided exclusions like public order and morality towards the grant of patent. If there's an intention which is against morality or public order, it will not be patent. Right. So there have been one or two incidences in 2018 where it was rejected, and the order provided by the Intellectual Property Office was satisfactory. The reasons that were given. So I want to see the impact it would have on the intellectual. So, where my the idea that I have to my research is that it will be doctrinal, because I've seen these variables: public order, morality, obscenity, with respect to different IPs like trademark, patent. What has been the research that is being done, what all areas have been touched and what is not touched. And then what I'm also thinking is to do a qualitative aspect of research where I would want to go and do interview with the experts, the stakeholders who are there, the policy framers who are there, the attorneys who are there, as to what has IP who are there in the intellectual property, as to what has been their approach or what considerations do they take while they are determining such subject matters. So that
So,
is my
ma'am,
area of research.
I will suggest you one thing. In the past 5 minutes, you have listed all the points from where you collect data. Okay.
Okay.
My suggestion to you would, for this one topic that you listed, is there a model already, theoretical model?
Ma'am, in discussions by different authors, especially in US and UK, and I have not come across someone who's done per se in an article in a journal in India. But they've already discussed the issue that is there. A concrete solution as yet has not been provided
No,
to.
I'm not talking about solution. I'm not talking about solution. Solution, ma'am, comes after primary data analysis. What I'm talking about that after studying the past research. Okay. See, you study the discussions which authors have done. They must have done the discussion in papers. So when they must have done the discussion in papers, they must have used a model. You get it? So if you go where is discussed, must have used model, ma'am, theoretical model. Please get hold of those.
Okay, okay, all right, ma'am.
Yeah, and choose any one of the theoretical base. Now, these factors which you are proposing will affect. Please list them down. Extend the model to make a conceptual model, and then, ma'am, plan your data collection.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Do you get
all
my
right.
point? This is the process.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Right.
you.
So I think there are no, it's 10:40. Can we take a till 11 and come back if it's okay with everyone? Yeah,
Madam?
Prajesh sir, please go ahead.
Good morning, madam.
Yeah, good
So it is not about the structure we have to general one. Abstract, it was in the abstract part. It is related use in the abstract part.
Yes.
So is there a difference when we are writing a paper, a research paper and thesis?
No, sir, I don't think so. I mean, unless and until it has been specified by the university, I don't think so. the
Okay.
language used could be similar, unless and until, of
Okay.
course, it has been, you have some instruction by the university, then I don't know. Otherwise, the language could be similar, sir. Not a problem at all.
Okay, because in some papers it in present papers it will be in past tense. Uh,
Sir,
that's yeah.
please use A grade papers of your
Okay.
domain, of your topic. You will not get barely 3 papers, sir. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Just take them and see their style. There is
Okay.
no hard. You won't ever come across a hard and
Okay.
Ma'am, I have a question.
any other doubts.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can't hear. Yeah. Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. So it's more of
Agree,
a
ma'am.
general
Yes.
doubt, ma'am. I just wanted to know that if a particular study has already been done in my field, but the study was done like a decade or two ago, and the new data sets have come up. Now we have come up with data sets. The situations have changed. New laws have been introduced, or there's been development of technology. If I do the similar study which was done like a decade or two ago, would that not be a valid study? That be something which we considered as something which is.
If there was something like I showed you the paper also, if there's something done in 1984, then somebody worked on it in 1990, then 95. But then after every 5 years, the concept keeps on changing. So if there is a study where the concept hasn't changed at all for the past 10 years and you want to do it, it will be a very positive thing. We can pick it up.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, so I'll start with the chapter number 3 now, okay, which is research methods. Now, this is the third chapter. It is also the third chapter of PhD, okay. Very crucial, very technical chapter. I'll show you my review rejections which have come from review papers, and you will see that most of my rejections come these chapters. So chapter 1, they have said gap not defined. Chapter 2, they say the theory is not appropriate. Chapter number 3, say why you use this technique and why not. Now, what happens in research methods? Uh, Research methods is a huge. It's a 5 days FTP in itself. Okay, so whether it's an exploratory or a descriptive research, whether it is say you're using this sampling or that sampling, how did you collect the sample, what was the group that you collect, okay, what demographics of the groups you collected, all this information comes in search methods. Also, if you have analyzed on a software, okay, any software, even that information is given. So it is a technical chapter. You have to be technically right. To be technical, books, okay, and people. Again, even in this chapter, like was in introduction, like was in review of literature, you will have sing. You will see. I only speak to my students. I say, even if you have to say that I'm so and so, always think says who. Who says that? So the mistake that we majorly do in this chapter is that because we know the techniques from, say, a book called Malhotra and Dash, we simply write down, okay, we have used the personal interview technique, or we write down, we have used the descriptive technique. It's not enough. You have to write in this chapter why you chose technique, why you chose personal interview. So if you are doing exploration, there are many data collection techniques and exploratory research, okay, like the that my experience says that this will impact, but I have a past time. I do exploration. How do I do it? There are many methods. Interview are there, focus group, projective, ethnography, netnography. There are so many techniques. So which one did I choose? Suppose I did personal interview. You are supposed to be justifying the use of personal interview in the research topics that you are doing. It's not just listing what I did. You will have to tell the editor, and in your PhD case, you'll have to guide why I chose this technique. Why did you not choose focus group? That you don't have to write. But why did you choose personal interview? You will have to write. Number two, please make this chapter references. A lot of references are in this chapter. So if you are saying survey is a descriptive technique and I used survey, you have to give me a reference which says that survey is a technique description. If you are saying I have used meta-analysis, you have to give me a reference where you say meta-analysis is a good technique to be used in this research. Number one. Number two, this is the place where I describe my sample, but not from the books. One very big mistake which PhD and many of my co-authors, you know what they do? They start writing from books. Question to you is, please read the books. You can cite them also if you get one line or one concept, but don't write in the bookish style research. Research paper from bookish writing. So when in Malhotra's book, you will get exploration is so and so, one whole paragraph. The same paragraph you write in a research paper, it will get rejected. It will get rejected. The author, the editor is not looking at an explanation of what is exploration. He's a learned man, and that is why he's there as a reviewer or as an editor. He's not wanting to know what is exploration. Okay, and what does Malhotra say? No, that is not the purpose he's having. Okay, his purpose is something else. His purpose is to find out, to understand if this technique that you have used is appropriate. What you have to explain to him. Please start to him. Why? Because you have read it and you want a paragraph from the book. No, please don't. Okay. Another thing which you have to explain very elaborately is your sampling, but not the sampling technique that elaborately. What you have to explain is, like the research that I showed you, the samples are from Tibet, the samples are from metro cities of Tibet, the samples age, geographic location, income, class, all that in a tabular form has to be shown. And yes, it is a little dangerous to show that because आप खुल के दिखा रहे हो, रिव्यूअर भी वापस, जैसे मेरा एक पेपर था जिसमें मैंने के ये सब दिखाया, तो रिव्यूअर ने रिजेक्ट किया और रिजेक्शन में लिखा था, मैं आपको वो रिजेक्शन दिखाऊंगी भी अभी ईमेल पे, उस रिजेक्शन में लिखा था कि आपने न्यू दिल्ली सैंपल, वो भी सिर्फ पर्ल एकेडमी, तो सैम्पलिंग दिखाने में खतरा जरूर रहता है, ये वाला पूछ सकता है कि ये, बट स्टिल यू विल हैव टू शो इट इन दिस चैप्टर. Now let me go back to, let me stop sharing this and go back to where I was in the paper. So we were at the review. I hope everybody can see the paper. We were at review. Review में आप सारे hypothesis बताते हो, and then we come to chapter number 3. इसको कई लोग methodology, कई लोग research methodology, आपको different नाम मिलेंगे. और मैं एक और बात आपको बता दूं कि ये नाम से फर्क पड़ता. अगर आप सोचते हो कि एक टाइटल बेस्ट है तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. ठीक है, फ्रॉम 2-3 names that are used, you can use any name. Okay, now look at, straight away gone to sampling and procedure. Just you to the paragraph because it has a reference also. Okay, and your exercises that you read this paragraph and tell me why has the reference of Zai being given, ZHAI. आपको ये पैराग्राफ पढ़ना है और आपको मुझे बताना है इन लोगों ने जाई का रेफरेंस किस कंटेक्स्ट में दिया है, क्या जस्टिफाई दिया है. 2 minutes and read it. Okay, I think all of you have justify location. So, having said that, anything starting introduction till now, please note you had to just it. So, even in sampling process, I have simply written I took people from the Tibet. He didn't write that. He said, I took it from Tibet, from this this city, because this is the main city of tourists and my research is tourist, because travel routes are maximum in this city. Says who? Says Zai 2008. The point to drive this example is, even if you are writing, I took samples from Lhasa, even that you have to write a says who. And what wrong they do is they write exploratory research, research, inductive research, sampling, plant imkan, and they just don't give me a justification of that. So he's just started with sampling. Sampling is the most important part of methodology. There are, you might ask me, ma'am, he didn't talk about the basics like exploration, description, personal interview, survey. He's not, you don't need to. The editor knows it. But in a PhD thesis, your research methodology will be more exhaustive and start with exploratory research, descriptive research, inductive study, so on and so forth. So in PhD, this section will be larger. In research paper, we primarily focus on sampling. Okay. And you know, the reason to write me is, why take only Lhasa? Why didn't you take some other city in Tibet? That is why I have given other techniques which he has explained. So he says, And this section is very small in papers, see, it ended with 2 paragraphs. Okay, he says, now in one line he describes the one technique. Now he has described, he's taken a self-administrated survey method, he's described it in one line. Come to, okay, after taking a sample, he explained, I took it from Tibet, Lhasa city, that's it. How did I explain my survey to that man? That he's written, sampling was a way that every tourist had an equal actually probably. Okay, the researcher remained in the same location, and the first person and each point sample technique to Malhotra's book, and I see how he describes simple random sampling. It will be very different from these 4 lines. These 4 lines found there, and those theoretical 4 lines of what is simple random sampling are not to be put in the research paper. No reference of books, please. Okay, but he has used simple random sampling, and simple random sampling means he's given each person a chance to participate. Says who you know, in a research paper or in a PhD thesis, you yourself cannot say that simple random is this, although you know it, although you read it from books, you have to give the author's name. He's given the author's name. Further, in some papers, there is a tabular representation of samples. Income wise, what percentage was male, what percentage was female, what percentage were young, percentage were old. All these bifurcations are given in a tabular also. That is a better way of sampling. Okay, there is always measure is only there in statistical papers. Okay, if many of you do not know what is a model making or have a stage of findings, you'll not be able to relate to it. Measurement means if there was a variable in the model called attitude, you saw the conceptual model, there was a variable called attitude. Measurement means how did you measure it? For those of you who have reached this stage, there is something called a standard scale. Okay, and that standard scale, from which author you took, what statements it had, all that is to be described. I'll give you an example. Very clearly says that I use some scale of whatever book a variable called perceived susceptibility. Okay, so look, he has to describe this for all variables. I'm just giving you an example. One variable. He says perceived susceptibility was measured by the person's estimate so and so on a 5-point Likert scale, and the scale include items. What are items? The statements you put in a questionnaire to measure that construct or variable, which is called perceived susceptibility. I repeat, what is an item or what is an item? It is a statement which we put in the survey to measure the construct or variable called perceived susceptibility. He has explained which author he's given the authors. He has also explained the statements he has also written the statements. He's written the items. Similarly, you will have to explain how you measure perceived benefits, health research, safety, Whatever 7, 8 variables he had, you have to explain how you measured them through statements, through items, and it is not necessary that it has to be a statement. For example, sometimes, when we measure income, how do we measure? We make categories: lower class, medium class, higher class. We have to write those categories and say, this is how we measured the income of the person: low class, middle class, upper class. Lower class in India or in Tibet, as the research has been done, falls into 10,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees. Middle class fall into 30,000 to 60,000 income per month. Upper class fell into 60% and 1 lakh, and you will have to give a says who. So here the says who could become a government agency of India, which has already defined. By the way, the government agencies in India have, if you're doing a research on Indians, I'm telling you in that context, and this is there in every country. So if you're doing it, I have done research in India. I have defined my sample into lower class, upper class, and I have reports from Indian government. I have reports from Forbes. I have reports from PwC, which say that salary this much to this much is upper class, salary this much to this much lower class, so on and so forth. If I have measured income in these three classes, and this is an Indian lower class, middle, I have to give a says who. I will have to author for that also. Okay, further, a part of research he has done in the fourth chapter, which is results and findings. Okay. A part of sampling, generally I put this sample profile in the research methodology chapter. Okay, but he has put it in results. Okay, see here he says, I told you na, demographics, respondent came from different ages. Okay, 62.7, which means majority was 18 to 34. Okay, respondents from so and so province, so and so so he's telling the provinces within the Lhasa city, and he is describing the demographics of the sample. Okay, so that is what you so once this is done, you go to results and find. Okay, that is the fourth chapter. So this is research methodology is over. Let me come to my PPT. I'm again reiterating my research methodology chapter 3 is over, whether it's for a PhD or whether it's for a research paper. Now my chapter number 4 is results and findings. Now I want to discuss two chapters together. I want to explain them here and then I'll take you to the paper. Two chapters are very, very confusing. One is finding results. This is one chapter. And one is discussion conclusion. I repeat, two chapters will be very confusing because you do not know what to write in what. And they come at the end of your research. Okay. And secondly, discussion. One very, very simple man technique I'm telling you to differentiate between what to write in these chapters. All your numbers in a quantitative research, all your numbers, Cronbach alpha, AME, uh, the statistical part, ANOVA results, all numbers, they come in results and findings. On the basis of the numbers, if you are suggesting something to the manager or industry, that comes in discussion or conclusion. I'm repeating this. Please listen very carefully. These two chapters, sometimes, what we do, we write the same thing in finding, then we copy the same thing in discussion, increase the number of words. Please don't do that. There's a demarcation. I'm taking demarcation. Finding, all analysis, numbers, Cronbach, ANOVAs, chi-square, t-test, RMSEE values, numbers, values, numbers. discussion and conclusion. On the basis of those numbers or findings, what do you suggest or what do you recommend to the manager or to the research community as a large? Those are called as discussion or conclusion. Okay, now let me take you to actual paper and show you these two segments. Okay. Once you see them, they will not be that difficult to understand. So this is my paper. Okay, this is chapter number 4. Called results. It could be called findings. It could be called analysis. The three names you will find for chapter number 4: result, analysis, findings. Just look at the chapter. It has started. Just look at this line. There's a number, p value less than 0.001. Let me go to the paragraph again. 0.92 CFI value, TLI value, X, Y, Z. Okay. This chapter tables, again numbers, 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 and numbers. Values, numbers, numbers, and numbers. This chapter called research, findings, or results. Okay, numbers, numbers, and okay. You want to read paragraph? Go ahead, read it. It's numbers. Absolutely numbers, tables, absolutely full of numerical values, quantitative data. Look at it, numbers, tables. And this is the largest section, by the way. And this is actually your actual research also. So numbers, tables, numbers, tables. Finally, we come to the 5th chapter. So I hope the chapter named results, findings, analysis, you have understood. The number 5, we conclusion, we could call it recommendation, we could discussion. There are different names given to this chapter. Okay, this is the 5th chapter. You will see, the only indication I can give you the difference, you will see. Please have a, please take 5 minutes to see the difference. Please take 5 minutes to read this. Please take 5 minutes and see how conclusion is different. Have you had a look at it? Please write a yes if you have understood the difference. I'll come to conclusion chapter. I'll not do findings because it's a little complicated. Findings are analysis. It is very difficult to take it through this analysis chapter. If you're going to an FTP on of structural equational modeling, it will take 5 days. If you FTP of meta-analysis, it will take days. Qualitative analysis you have already done. So if whatever we did in in vivo and qualitative this, where will the meaning of the numbers go? I would like to know, what are you wanting meaning? If suppose Cronbach alpha and it is 0.6, it is reliable, all this will come in chapter 4 only, findings only.
Okay. So the interpretation will go in findings.
Yeah. Yes, it will, sir. Let me,
Okay.
I was not taking you through in detail because, you know, people sometimes get confused after seeing numbers. For example, just read out this line. The discriminant validity of the measurement model was tested by an AV value to the squared correlation between the corresponding constructs. Says who? Fornell and Lacker. So he has very clearly said, I've gone according to this author. Further, he says the AVE value is greater than 0.57, thus the reliability is achieved. I'm just giving you an example. So thus good convergent validity is there. He cannot say it himself, sir. He has Bacon, Saur, Young, Fornell, and Lack. Interpretation,
Yeah.
interpretation will come afterward. Numerical interpretation comes here with,
Yeah, with support with the authors or maybe. Yeah.
I'll show you my rejections. They have, they said, how did you write that Cronbach alpha of 0.6 is good? You know, the problem is we know these things, so we take it for granted. But at every point, sir, this is a perfect paper. This person has not budged. If he has written 30 numerical values, sir, you will see 30 citations to prove that
Yeah,
his study is reliable.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Now let's come to conclusion. I'm not doing too much because many of you are not aware of techniques of this finding or meta-analysis or something. Okay. When we did qualitative research in en vivo, an done through personal interviews in this chapter number findings. It will be absolutely qualitative, okay, but it will only and only be the analysis of personal interviews, videos. Now let me conclusion part or fifth chapter or the last chapter. Okay. Now, the first thing you do is you list your finding and the impact on either the research theory or the managers. I repeat, the first start chapter, we generally call this part as, generally start the conclusion chapter, chapter number 5. I generally started by saying discussion. What is discussion? Finding material, finding and academic implication. Finding and academic implication. This made some hypothesis. If you remember, he said this thing impacts this thing. Now look at what he's written. His hypothesis has been proven numerically through some value, say beta coefficient value or whatever value. He's proven it in chapter number 4. Now he's explaining it theoretically or qualitatively in conclusion. How does he explain? Please read the paragraph. At self-efficacy, positive predictors of behavior, which means my hypothesis was true, which means attitude had an impact on preventive behavior. 1 and 2, he's not given numbers. Mind you, he's proven numbers part, he's just explaining to a layman reader, person who doesn't know numbers, that listen, attitude impacted the preventive behavior. Okay, look at the managerial implication. If tourists have a more positive attitude on protective measures, they will be more likely to perform the preventive behavior. This is the managerial part. I mean, you know, research is not statistically hypothesis. Research, right? When I write this part, I actually, you know, I take it to a manager. I work on fashion and sustainability. So when I finish my research, when I've done these findings, etc., I take these hypotheses, proven hypotheses, to a manager, and I don't talk to him AV statistical. Talk to him like this. I talk to him a layman language, in a language he understands. I say attitude will affect preventive behavior. I don't say, sir, hypothesis number 1 with Cronbach alpha 0.7 with AVE value so and so. I don't talk to him like that. I talk to him, and then after giving him this, I ask him. This is my way. You could go the same way, or you might just while reading do this, but this is the way I go. I always take my academic research to the industry. They cannot comment on my research, is useless. I come to know that it is not going to be published in an A grade paper. So if I have found out that attitude affects preventive behavior, I will go to the industry and ask. I'll go to the travel and tourism, because this is in the so attitude affects tourist preventive. Do you agree to this? He will say, yes, Jaspreet, the tourist will have a more positive attitude, and then they will be more likely to preventive behavior. This line number 2 This line number 2, although it's written just like this line I get from the manager. I don't write it myself. I don't, but then, you know, the more the more you validate your research, the more difficult it becomes. You know, कई बार ऐसे होता है कि मैं इंडस्ट्री वाले बोलती हूँ एक्ट्स प्रिवेंटिव बिहेवियर, पता मुझे क्या बोलते हैं, नहीं मैम हमारी लाइन में ऐसा तो नहीं होता। नहीं सर, अगर सपोज करिए कोई बंदा एक थोड़ा पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड लेके आए टुवर्ड सिक्योरिटी, तो वो थोड़ा प्रिवेंटिव रहेगा ना हेल्थ के भी। नहीं मैम हमने तो नहीं देखा, लाइन में 20 साल से है, हमने तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं। बैकफायर भी नेगेटिव फीडबैक। Okay. So this I have highlighted, I get from the math. These lines I get from the past data. And where did everyone question, where did I make a study of past data for this hypothesis? In which chapter? In which chapter did I make an elaborative study of 4 authors who said that this? Can you tell me the chapter name? The chapter where, I'll repeat my question, I want the name of the chapter where I made an detailed analysis of past who had that attitude had impacted behavior, or X had impacted Y. I chose 4 authors, and unless and until 4 authors say it, I did not hypothesize it. I did not put it in my conceptual model. Can you name? Yes, at last. Yes, yes. It is the theoretical framework. It is the theoretical framework. So now, all this that I have highlighted, from where will you get? You will get it already from a chapter which you have made, which is theoretical framework. What do you have to write? You have to write that if in my research there was a positive impact of attitude and protective measure, what was the case? Does this thing match with the past research? So the person is consistent with previous studies. Which studies? And Chen and Lee, Quintal et al. I don't have to find these studies again. They are already there in my review of literature. I had hypothesized this relationship. I had already studied 4 authors who had said, yes, there is a positive impact. So now when in conclusion, there is a positive impact, I will have to reiterate. It is like saying, देखा मैंने बोला था, that sort of a thing. Okay, so देखा उन लोगों ने बोला था कि ये होगा, ये हुआ. Something like that you have to write in English. To say this is consistent with the studies. Okay, and for every hypothesis, you have to do this. Hypothesis 4, 5, he has just listed them. He has said whether they are consistent with the past research or not. So this of hypothesis and related to the past research is the part which is called discussion. Okay, this is one part. Chapter 5 is not over. This is chapter 5, first part going on, named discussion. This is the first thing you have to do. Now, let us come to the next part. Okay. Till now, he's just doing the hypothesis. See, he had many hypotheses. He's at hypothesis number 12. Okay, he's just doing hypothesis. Okay. Now, after explaining all the hypotheses, he has hypothesis. Okay. Now, just a minute. Now, we come to the second part. Just a second. The second part of chapter number 5, which is I name it. This guy hasn't named it. I generally name it. Managerial. This is the suggestion to take a minute and read this paragraph. Please, take a minute and read it. This is managerial implication. Sorry. Okay, I hope you have read it. I hope the point of managerial implication is clear. So, like in introduction, if you remember, I had highlighted paragraphs and shown you in introduction. Similarly, this chapter, the study for example, this guy has actually named the component. See, he's written implications and limitations, but I already take two topics. I take implications separate, limitations separate. So right now I'm showing you only managerial implication. Okay, the third part in my study, sorry, the third part in my chapter number 5 is limitations. Okay, here comes the paragraph. I say, I am not without limitations. For example, most of the research that I do written, he says I've restricted myself to two models. Which were the two models we had taken? Theoretical models, HBM. He says the same research be done models also. They always write the sample limitation. They always write, even if this person has not written, they all that the sample has taken only from Lhasa, only from Tibet. This research could be done, could have been done at a larger sample. A third limitation, which I generally find in papers, is they say, I have done a cross sectional study. What is a cross sectional study? I have done it in 1 month, finished. I have not taken longitudinally. What is longitudinal? The one which Sir just gave an exam series and panel data. What is longitudinal study? A data which is collected over a period of 5 years. Longitudinal. So most of when we do studies like what we do, we publish a paper. This is a time study. It is called cross-sectional study. In many papers, it is written as a limitation. Many papers I've seen it is a limitation. And last but not the least, future research. You have to tell that from here, where should the future researchers go? So please take a minute to study this. Although according to him, this author must have covered everything in the past literature, but still he says there is scope for future researchers. Read it out. So I hope you've read it. I hope you've read it. This is called Future Research Scope. This is called Future Research Scope. This is another component which is to be a part of chapter number 5. And finally, this declaration, funding, all this you don't have to fill up. Okay, all this you don't have to fill up. And finally, we references. Finally, we come to references and references have a general style, which I'm telling you. It might change a little when it is APA or Harvard or style it is. But generally, please note this down. These are very minute things. You might think that why is the editor writing about references? I'm going to show you a rejection after this. Just after I'm completing references, I'm going to show you a rejection. Which part has he not, slaughtered? There is not a part in my research paper which he's not slaughtered. And I'm going to show it to you. You might think references is a thing. Let's ignore it. Majorly तो paper में finding ना उनको ऐसा नहीं होता. They are very particular about references. बहुत particular हैं वो लोग. So the surname comes first. Okay, so the reference that you are saying is a person Isaac Asgen, Adzen, and the surname comes first. Asgen, comma I. What is I? His first name. Isaac dot ear. In some forms, the ear is in bracket. In some forms, the ear is not in the bracket. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Depends journal to journal, but the basic format is same. Theory of planned behavior. Okay, now this is probably this is the title of the theory of planned behavior. Organizational behavior and human decision process is the name of the journal. Can everybody please mute? There's somebody not on mute. There's somebody not on mute. There's a disturbance.
Dhanya, mute buddy.
Yes, ma'am, I have muted him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Asken is surname. Asken is surname. I is first initial. Isaac, his first name. 1991 is the year in which the paper came. The theory of planned behavior is the title of the paper. Organizational behavior and human decision policies is the name of the journal in which it was published. 50 is the name of the journal. 2 is the issue of the journal. 79 to 211 is the page number of the journal. Generally, in referencing, all these components are there. Only difference APA or a HAR Z is between dots and commas. Clear? And of course, referencing is a very huge part, cannot be covered here, but references have to be perfect. They are in alphabetical order, if you can see, and this is the way it has to be. Some journals are very, very particular that you should have a DOI number of the journal also. Okay, and that's very difficult to get because, after this page, you have to write a DOI number, and all journals might not have a DOI number also. So sometimes they mention, so that you'll have to see on the basis of the journal you have selected. Okay, but really this is the surname, first name, year, title of the paper, name of the journal, volume, issue, page number, period. Okay, so this is the referencing thing that you do. Most of the references over here are of research. Coming to the point, don't write research papers from textbooks. Again, reiterating, don't write research papers from textbooks. Take a minute and see all the references. If there is a reference where there is you don't see a journal reference, please let me know. Please go through the references. I'm giving you 1 minute. Tell me if there's a reference. See the number of journals. See if there's a book. I don't even see a book. I don't even see a book. Now this might sound very harsh. I know. Because ever since childhood, we have been told kitabon se padho, kitabon se padho. But look at the reference. They are all research papers. And there's a purpose. He's trying to show कि पीछे रिसर्च जितनी मैंने सारी पढ़ ली है, ठीक है, फिर गैप था जो मैंने में मेरा भी नाम, it's like giving that statement through references, right? So if this is, let me go to, I want to show you one of my rejections, which some people told me not to show also. I've one or twice I've shown. Some people say, why do you show rejections? But it's very important because, you know, by the time you guys reach this stage, it's taken me 3 years to reach this stage also. So yeah, but before that, before I show you this, 1 minute, before I show you this, I have to quickly take you through how to go to the, just one slide I'll take, show you. Okay, references, and then finally you're making your general things. I'll give the PPT, check your figures, make table, write title for table, so on and so forth. Give me a minute. Okay, get feedback from advisors and colleagues. If you remember, when I finish my paper, I go to the managers. I go to some academicians also from that domain. Okay, there was a paper of justification of ethical behavior, and I sent it to Dr. Russell Belk. He's the father of sustainability. He was very kind enough to reply back. Good paper, hala wo abhi tak but at least he gave me some. He said it's a पेपर, वो 6 महीने हो गए पब्लिश तो नहीं हुआ, उसी की रिजेक्शन मैं आपको दिखाने वाली हूँ, लेकिन क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा है और वो एक्सपर्ट है, इसलिए मैं बहुत पॉजिटिव हूँ, पेपर को नहीं हूँ, जैसे जैसे और इम्प्रूव आगे भी जा रही हूँ, ठीक है। एक रिजेक्ट करता है तो रिजेक्ट करते हैं तो तीसरे में, बिकॉज आई हैव हिज वर्ड, द फादर that it's a good paper. Number 1. Number 2, managerial implication, I don't write myself. I go to colleagues and ask. Okay. Provide a cover letter to the editor. Provide a title page to editor. ये सारी चीजें आप जब जर्नल की वेबसाइट पे जाओगे आपको बड़ी क्लियरली नजर आएंगी. This is a slide I took from one FDP I was doing in IMA, All India Association. तो ये बड़ी अच्छी मुझे लगी. डॉक्टर पवन बुधवार के एक FDP हुआ था, वहां ये स्लाइड थी. डॉक्टर पवन बुधवार ने अपनी स्लाइड्स हमें दे दी. ये विजुअल paper, what happens? Your paper will first go to the editor. Okay, your paper will first go to editor. I'll show you the process. This is the process. Again, it's been taken from Dr. Budhwar from his FTP. Okay, he had shared it, so I have to tell that it is his contribution. And this is the whole process. I never had gone through this process. ये process किसी book में नहीं है. आपको इतना पता भी नहीं होना चाहिए, पर हाँ आपको थोड़ा बहुत पता होना चाहिए कि जब एडिटर देखेगा तो वो एक गैप ढूंढेगा. एडिटर सिर्फ एब्स्ट्रैक्ट पढ़ेगा, उसके बेस पे एडिटर आपका जो भी आपका पेपर है उसको आगे भेजेगा पे. अगर एडिटर को लगता है कि कोई गैप नहीं है, कोई नई रिसर्च नहीं है इसमें, तो वो वही का वही पेपर रिजेक्ट हो जाएगा. डेस्क रिजेक्ट होता है. एडिटर ने देखा, दिन के आगे 10 दिन के बाद उसने बोला कि हम वापस भेज रहे हैं, ठीक है, आप हम इसको रिव्यूअर के पास नहीं. सपोज करिए डेस्क रिजेक्ट नहीं हो तो वो नेक्स्ट स्टेज पे आता है जिसपे वो 2 या 3 रिव्यूअर्स को भेजा जाता है. ठीक है, 3 रिव्यूअर्स अपने 3 अलग रिव्यूज करते हैं, पूरा पेपर पढ़ते हैं और फिर एडिटर को अपने 3 रिव्यूज भेजते हैं। एडिटर उन 3 रिव्यूज के बेसिस पे एक फाइनल डिसीजन लेते हैं कि उसको करना, रिजेक्ट है, या फिर 2 और चीजें होती हैं। ये एक सुपर ऑप्टिमिज्म एक्सेप्ट एंड सुपर पेसिमिज्म, रिजेक्ट के बीच में भी स्टेजेस होती हैं जो आपकी होप बनाए रखती है का पेपर कहीं अभी निकल सकता है। अभी तरह माइनर रिविजन, मेजर रिविजन्स, अगर ये आ है तो भी आप ये समझिए, एंड आई एम अगेन कोटिंग डॉक्टर बुधवर, कि आप ये समझिए कि रिव्यूअर कम से कम इंटरेस्टेड तो है, उसने आपके पेपर को इतना टाइम दिया और वो एक माइनर रिवीजन या मेजर रिवीजन आपको सजेस्ट कर रहा है, इसका मतलब ये एक खुशखबरी है। बी पॉजिटिव अबाउट इट। माइनर मेजर रिवीजन में हम अच्छी तरह से रिव्यूअर को एक बड़ा ही इलैबोरेटिव पेपर बना के भेजते हैं जो मैं आपको दिखाऊंगी, और फिर अगर मतलब रिव्यू तो वो फाइनली आपका एक्सेप्ट करता है। दिस इज द होल प्रोसेस। ओके, नाउ आई विल शो यू वन ऑफ माय रिजेक्शंस। ये मेरी रिजेक्शन है। आप चाहें हैं जर्नल ऑफ बिजनेस एथिक्स जो मैं आपको बता रही थी, मैंने डाला था, मैंने साइड इशू था, मेन इशू था। इज इट विजिबल? I don't think I shared it. Just give me a minute. अब मैंने शेयर करा है, देखिए जरा। और इसके जो एडिटर थे, आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर वर्किंग ऑन सस्टेनेबिलिटी और बिजनेस एथिक्स, डॉक्टर स्कॉट विटल इज द फादर ऑफ सस्टेनेबिलिटी। और ये एडिटर थे। ये बात मुझे तब पता चली जब ये लेटर मेरे पास आया, तब तक मैं पेपर सबमिट कर चुकी थी। ये बात पता चली जब ये लेटर मेरे पास आया सेक्शन की, इसके जो एडिटर हैं वो जैसे कहते हैं ना, श्री बोलते हैं, उस तरह आप इनको बोल सकते हैं। सस्टेनेबिलिटी में उनका नाम इस तरह यूज होता है, एंड ही इज द मेन एडिटर। लेकिन जब इशू होता है, एडिटर्स इतने फेमस, आपका चांस उसमें ज्यादा है। रिव्यूअर्स ने कमेंट्स दिए, आप चाहें इसको पढ़ सकते हैं। एज आई सेड, कोई ऐसा चैप्टर नहीं है जो उन्होंने असैसिनेट ना कराओ। यू कैन टेक 2 minutes एंड रीड इट। ओके, आई होप यू हैव रेड इट। आई होप आपने, अच्छा ये मैं आपको भेज भी नहीं सकूंगी क्योंकि एक मेल होता है, जर्नल से आता है, तो इसमें अपने इश्यूज होते हैं, आपको भेज तो नहीं सकती। लेकिन ये मेरा रिजेक्ट है, जिसमें से एक जो मैं आपको बोल रही थी कि सैंपल आपने न्यू दिल्ली के सिर्फ फैशन इंस्टीट्यूट पर्ल एकेडमी से क्यों लिया, ये भी बोला है। उन्होंने थ्योरेटिकल मॉडल जो मैंने नए वेरिएबल लगाए थे किया है। उन्होंने मुझे एक तो मेरे ख्याल रेफरेंस के बारे में भी कुछ लिखा है। सो माय रिजेक्शन। जहां एक आध जगह मैं लकी रही हूं जहां पर मुझे एक रिवीजन आया है, मेजर रिवीजन, और ये वो फाइल है जो मैंने बनाई है आप चाहें तो इसको पढ़ सकते हैं। जो ब्लैक में लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है, जो ब्लैक में लिखा हुआ है रिव्यूअर के, जो रेड में लिखा हुआ है वो है मेरी एक्सप्लेनेशन। आप ये समझिए कि जैसे आपने अभी मेल देखी वैसे ही रिव्यूअर के, लेकिन इस बार रिजेक्शन नहीं हुआ का इम्प्रूव ये चाहते। एक उनका कमेंट है उस पे देखिए मैंने कितना एक्टिवली समझाया है। वो जो रेड लाइंस है ये सारा मेरा लिखा हुआ है, और ये शीट मैंने अब उनको है। इट इज अ 3000 वर्ड्स फाइल। तो रिव्यू भी अगर देखिए, पहले तो एडिटर से थ्रू हो जाए बहुत बड़ी बात है, रिव्यूअर से थ्रू होके रिजेक्ट ना हो और बड़ी बात है। अगर रिजेक्ट हो गया फिर तो गया, फिर तो वैसी मेल आ जाएगी जैसे मेरी आई है। लेकिन अगर रिव्यूअर से भी जाके रिजेक्ट ना हुआ और माइनर या मेजर रिवीजन कमेंट्स आएंगे, और उसको आपको कमेंट पर कमेंट एक फाइल बना के एक्सप्लेनेशन देके कि सर मैंने ये आपने बोला था, ये मैंने सुधार लिया है, डेफिनेशन बोली थी सही से, ये डिफाइन करी है, ये ऑथर, ऐसे एक 3000 की फाइल आप देखिए। इसमें बड़ा टाइम लगता है रिव्यू के भी, रास्ता आसान तो नहीं होता। खैर एक पेपर को 6 महीने से 8 महीने लग जाते हैं, 6 महीने बनाने में लग जाते हैं, 6 महीने छापने में लग जाते हैं। सो ये देखिए, ये एक एक कमेंट। अच्छा, रिव्यूअर 1, फिर रिव्यूअर 2, ये मैंने रिव्यूअर 1 के लिए करा, फिर मैंने रिव्यूअर 2 के लिए फाइल बनाई, फिर मैं रिव्यूअर 3 के लिए फाइल बनाई, और ये अब मैंने भेजी है। एंड होप दिस शुड बी, सी ये देखिए, रिव्यूअर 2 रिजेक्ट, इनके भी मैंने कमेंट्स लिखे हैं। ठीक है, कई बार क्या होता है कि 2 रिव्यूअर माइनर रिवीजन दे देते हैं, एक रिव्यूअर देता है, ऐसा भी होता है। ठीक है, इट इज अप कि वो तीनों में से आप, तो ये फाइल हमने भेजी, और मैं आपको पेपर दिखाना चाहूंगी जो मैंने उनको, ये एक तो हम अलग से भेजते हैं, ये अलग से बनती है, इसको हम रिप्लाई फाइल बोलते हैं, ये अलग से बनती है। उसके अलावा आई हैव टू शो यू, जस्ट गिव मी 1 मिनट। Okay, in papers itself, not getting that paper. एक सेकेंड, I'll just show you कि पेपर में हम कैसे करते हैं, मैं आपको वो दिखाना चाह रही हूँ। एक मिनट दीजिएगा। Highlighted? No, that paper. I'm just trying to just give me one. There on the mail, I'll get it from the mail. I want to show you कि इस कमेंट्स के बाद भी हम कैसे हाईलाइट करके भेजते हैं फाइल। That is what I was trying to show you. Okay, yes, finally got it. So many screens open. So where is it? Paper 2, ये रहा. तो इसमें पेपर आप अगर आपको नजर आ रहा है तो चेंज है, ये चेंजेस देखिए. मैं हाईलाइट, ये मेरा फाइनल पेपर है. वो सिर्फ कमेंट शीट थी, सिर्फ कमेंट शीट थी. उसमें तो मैंने समझाया था कि रिव्यूअर ने जो जो बोला है मैंने उसको काम करा है उस पे. ये मेरा फाइनल है, अभी रिव्यू के लिए गया हुआ है. वो जो मैंने ये ग्राफिक्स का आपको बताया था रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी में मैंने डाला, उन्होंने लिख के भेजा कि आप डालिए, मैंने डाला. तो जो जो मैं चेंज किया है एक और चैप्टर लंबा चेंज उन्होंने मांगा था, ये कंक्लूजन वाला चैप्टर. तो मैंने जो जो चेंज करा है, जब ये फाइल रिव्यूअर को जाएगी ये सारे हाइलाइट्स होके जाएगी. तो अगर आपको भी माइनर या मेजर रिवीजन मिले तो आप 2 फाइल्स बनाइए. एक तो कमेंट्स, ठीक है, ये फाइल बना, चेंजेस आप पेपर में करिए, माइनर मेजर रिवीजन में उसको हाईलाइट करिए, ठीक है. दूसरा, आप रिव्यूअर का एक अलग वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट बनाइए जहां हमें एडिटर ने जो जो, रिव्यूअर ने जो जो कहा है ब्लैक में वो लिख, रेड का आंसर लिखिए. ये दोनों डॉक्यूमेंट्स पास, और अगर माइनर मेजर रिवीजन होगा सैटिस्फाइड रहेंगे कि आपने मेहनत करी है. अगर वो रहेंगे तो डेफिनेटली द पेपर गेट सिलेक्टेड. Okay, so this is the process of paper selection. One last thing for the day I have to do. अभी तक कोई डाउट्स है तो प्लीज अपने डाउट्स पूछ लीजिए till the time I am sharing Turnitin. कोई डाउट्स है प्लीज शेयर इट. बस Turnitin ही रह गया है, हो गया है. कोई डाउट्स है अभी प्लीज शेयर इट. द पेपर्स I'll not be able to share because ये अभी published नहीं है, revisions चल रही हैं. PPT I will share with you and records I think the institute has. So yeah, मैं what I wanted to you, and then I think we can call it a day. Just a second.
Ma'am, may I have a couple of questions?
Okay, I am sharing. Plagiarism है क्या? मैं theoretically तो I don't know if it is worth plagiarism. Just like to tell you this much कि एक लाइन भी कॉपीड हो, एक लाइन, तो आपको स्यू करा जा सकता है, ठीक है. लाइन भी अगर कॉपीड हो. नंबर 1, नंबर 2, जब हमने एक मान की कॉपी करके उसका निकाल दिया तो हमारा जॉब खत्म हो जाता है, which is not the case, which is not the case. Okay, अगर आप किसी का भी काम कॉपी करके उसका नाम रेफरेंस में लिख देते हो तो क्या वो प्लेजरिज्म नहीं है? वो भी प्लेजरिज्म है. और उस केस में आपके साथ क्या होगा? आपके साथ ये होगा. These are, आप गूगल पे जाइए, रिट्रैक्टेड वर्ड लिखिए, आप पेपर जहां पर पेपर हैज बीन रिट्रैक्टेड. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय रिट्रैक्टेड? ब्लैकलिस्टेड. और ये इस लेवल तक होता है कि अब ये जो भी है एक्चुअली क्या है, हम ऑथर्स अपने जाने जा, हम ऑथर्स जाने जा, जिसको हम कहते हैं ऑर्किड. So whenever I publish a paper, I submit a paper, they ask for an ORCID ID. ORCID ID is like an Aadhaar card. It goes everywhere. They don't recognize Jaspreet Kaur. There'll be so many Jaspreet Kaurs from India. There will be so many Jaspreet Kaurs in Pearl Academy also. I'm just giving you an example. They recognize me with my ORCID ID. Now, God forbid, if because of plagiarism, what is plagiarism? Copying the text directly from another paper. If you give the reference Bell 2017, but the text is absolutely copied. Absolutely copied means you don't change every third word of the sentence. What is a plagiarized or copied text? When you don't change every word of the sentence has to be changed, paraphrased, rewritten, then it is the plagiarism gets. If that doesn't happen, as per your ORCID ID, you have submitted a paper and the paper somebody sues for plagiarism, it gets retracted. जब भी कोई रिसर्चर ये पेपर खोलेगा, टाइटल आएगा, जर्नल नेम आएगा, ऑथर्स के नाम आएंगे और बड़ा बड़ा आएगा रिट्रैक्टेड. वो है भी हिंदुस्तानियों का ही. बायो सेंसर्स एंड बायोटेक्नोलॉजी राइट साइड में लिखा है एकता पात्रा, आशुतोष तिवारी, तो है भी इंडियंस का ही. ठीक है. नाउ वंस इट इज रिट्रैक्ट, आप किसी ढंग की जो उम्र, I am repeating, even if somebody sues you, one sentence, एक सेंटेंस के लिए भी अगर आप कर दिया गया और आपका जर्नल ने रिट्रैक्ट कर दिया, तो आप पूरी लाइफ में किसी अच्छी जर्नल में पेपर नहीं छाप सकेंगे, क्योंकि जब भी आप पेपर पब्लिश करने पहुंचेंगे वो आपका ऑर्किड नंबर मांगेगा और वहां वो दिखा देगा ब्लैक लिस्टेड. I hope now you understand the repercussions of plagiarism. So please don't rush. सबमिशन में रश मत करिए. मैंने ऐसे कई ABDC लिस्ट में C ग्रेड जर्नल्स हैं. मुझे ऐसा लगता था वो ABDC में लिस्टेड हैं तो प्लेग खुद ही चेक, उन्होंने चेक भी नहीं करा. 10 प्लेग ही था, खैर ज्यादा भी नहीं था, बट लेकिन मुझे पता चला कि बाद में कभी सबमिशन के बाद मुझे लगा वो चेक करेंगे. सबमिशन के बाद मैंने अपना प्लेग चेक, वो 10% था, वहां पेपर I had to bring back my paper and say there is 10% plague. I want to correct it and then submit. तो अगर आप ये सोचते हो कि जर्नल प्लेग निकाल लेगी, आप गलत हो. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, अगर आप ये समझते हो कि जर्नल ने प्लेग नहीं निकाला और पेपर पब्लिश हो गया तो आप पे गाज नहीं गिरेगी, आप तब भी इनकरेक्ट हैं. पॉलिसी होती है जब आप सबमिट करते हो, कॉपीराइट फॉर्म भरवाया जाता है. उस कॉपीराइट क्लियरली लिखा होता है अगर कोई कट कॉपी पेस्ट है तो इसको पकड़ो. किसको पकड़ो? बेसिकली ऑथर को पकड़ो. तो publishing house is pretty safe. Even if your they have not checked plagiarism, who will be retracted, not house. I hope that is clear. What should be the plague percentage? I keep it at 10%. मैं 10% रखती हूँ. 10% से नीचे ही कोशिश करती हूँ. ठीक है. प्लेजरिज्म चेक कहाँ होता है? कई ना, I'll show you. आप कई बार ना वेबसाइट पे जाते हो प्लेजरिज्म चेक करने. मैं आपको यहीं पर दिखा देती हूँ. ठीक है. आप कई बार ना ऑनलाइन टूल्स यूज करते हो, ये प्लेजरिज्म चेकर, ठीक है, डुप्लीकेट चेकर, सारे टूल्स हैं. ठीक है, जो आप हैं, ये टूल्स बिल्कुल रिलायबल नहीं है. अगर इनमें प्लेजरिज्म 2% निकलता है तो टर्न इट इन में 12% निकलेगा. आप रिटर्न में ले लीजिए. रीजन बता. गूगल को और क्या करता है कि जब वो प्लेजरिज्म चेक करता है, ये जब सारे जो सॉफ्टवेयर हैं जब प्लेजरिज्म चेक करते हैं, ये केवल और केवल इंटरनेट चेक करते हैं. लेकिन ऐसी कई डिसर्टेशन, रिपोर्ट्स, बुक्स एसेट्रा हैं जो इंटरनेट पे नहीं है. तो फिर वो कहाँ है, मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन करती हूँ। मेरे ग्रेजुएशन में कुछ हजार बच्चा है पर्ल अकेडमी में, वो सब अपनी डिसर्टेशन लेवल 3 में सबमिट करेंगे। हम कभी रिपोर्ट्स को हर साल डिसर्टेशंस को ऑनलाइन नहीं डालते, तो हम चेक करते हैं, हम उनको चेक करते हैं टर्न इट इन पे, और जैसे ही हम टर्न इट इन में रन करते हैं, इन नोट है उस डेटा को एब्जॉर्ब लेता है और कहता है ये रिपोर्ट कृति भटनागर की सबमिटेड अकेडमी इन ईयर 2019 मार्च। टर्न इट डेटा को एब्जॉर्ब कर लेता है। जब आप एक पेपर बना रहे हैं जिसमें आपने किसी तरीके से मेरे स्टूडेंट से एक पैराग्राफ कॉपी कर लिया, मैं एक एग्जांपल ले रही हूं, आपने उसको इन इंटरनेट चेकर्स से चेक किया, वो कभी नहीं दिखाएगा। इंडिविजुअल यूनिवर्सिटीज में यूजी, पीजी, पीएचडी जो रिसर्च है, इंडिविजुअल यूनिवर्सिटीज में बुलेटिन्स पे, अर्कुंड पे स्क्रीन हो रही है, रजिस्टर हो रही है, वो सब इंटरनेट के प्लेजरिज्म चेकर नहीं दिखाते। Thus, the only way of plagiarism to, okay, namely turn it in and अर्कुंड, ये दो सॉफ्टवेयर हैं जिस पे चेक करेंगे, नहीं तो कोई गारंटी नहीं है। अगर आप 2% इंटरनेट पे दे रहे हैं, उसको इंटू 10 करके चलना, इंटू 10 करके चलना अगर वो टर्निटिन पे आता है। नाउ द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, टर्निटिन और अर्कुंड पे प्लेजरिज्म कैसे दिखता है? क्योंकि टर्निटिन और अर्कुंड एक ऐसा डेटाबेस है जो सिर्फ इंटरनेट सोर्सेज नहीं लिखते, हमें कहीं भी कोई कॉपी है, आप समझिए मैंने विकास पब्लिकेशन के साथ एक किताब, उन्होंने टर्निटिन या अर्कुंड पे वो किताब स्क्रीन करी, वहां से टर्निटिन पे लिस्ट हो गई, डॉक्टर जसप्रीत कौर's बुक विकास ईयर 2009। अब मेरी किताब में से कुछ भी कॉपी दिखाइए, मिनट में टर्निटिन बता देगा ये किताब पब्लिकेशन के इस जगह से कॉपी हुई है, ये पैराग्राफ इस किताब जगह से इस सबमिशन से कॉपी हुआ है। सिमिलरली टर्निटिन में यूनिवर्सिटी में सबमिटेड सारी डिसर्टेशन का डेटा है, आप किसी डिसर्टेशन से कॉपी करके दिखाइए, टर्निटिन 2 मिनट में बता देगा इस यूनिवर्सिटी में इस स्टूडेंट ने इस ईयर में सबमिट यहां से कॉपी है। सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज टर्निटिन एंड अर्कुंड आर बेटर सॉफ्टवेयर्स विज़-विज़ ऑनलाइन। ऑनलाइन से प्लेग मत चेक करिए। आपको एक टर्न की रिपोर्ट शो करने जा रही हूँ
मैम,
ये हाँ जी, please.
I have 2 questions,
Yes,
if you
please.
can answer them. So,
Yes,
ma'am,
please.
I've used both the softwares, Orkun and Turnitin, right? Turnitin, there are filtration items where they say to exclude less than 1%. These filters are there. So, how far do you suggest? Should we use those filters? Because many a times, if we put it in general, it reaches to, and when we put these filter, let's say I've to exclude footnote, to exclude less than 1% similarity indexed, then it comes down to less than 10% of the plague report. So how far?
It is absolutely okay to exclude footnotes and references. I never check plague with references and footnotes.
And then ma'am also less than 1% criteria if it shows, because that is also many a times my reports that there have been many indexes that show 10%, and when I remove them, it automatically comes down to less than 10%. But that's still a similarity index. So how justified to put it in that way?
It is end notes हो और एक देख रहे हो, तो अगर आपका 5%, it is absolutely justified. There is no problem at all.
And ma'am, I've used Orkund also. So there was this problem I was facing with Orkund, that the n number of times I'm putting the same paper, it's giving the different similarity index or percentage. This has happened rampantly in my university, in my graduation university, when we were doing our dissertations, and this was with almost all the students. Same document put in n number of times in Orkun software was generating different percentages of similarities. So how is that software then written? It is giving different similarity index for the same document.
Yeah, I'll tell you, ma'am. Sometimes what happens is when, that is one thing I would suggest to you. Don't run your document thrice on Turnitin's and just run once. I'll tell you that is that once you run a part of lists into its database, you get my point. So next time when you run it, it will show you more of that. Number one. Number two, by the time you are running it, say after a week you are running it again, or after 2 days you are running it again, ma'am, mind you, in that one day there will be thousands of research projects more submitted in universities and millions of data which will come on the net. Your matching percentage, if you have taken something, suppose 20% from the net, उसी तरह 2 दिन बाद आप मेजर कर रहे हो, वो कंटेंट 2 दिन में और बढ़ जाएगा ओवर द नेट, कम तो नहीं होगा. तो आपका वही 20% शो कर रहा है, अब 25 हो. Do you get my point?
So, to this is happening, part of the data is getting deposited in tree of both the softwares.
Yes.
Then once I've done the check, let's say the journal doing again the page check using the same software, then they will have a high so let's say my similarity index came 10%. After it got restored in the database, they are doing the check now it is showing 15% because some part of it is restored. However, I have not done any kind of cheating over here or plagiarism over here. It's the same document. Then how far do I resolve this particular problem because of this?
You don't have to resolve. Really, when we submit our papers, we send a report dated so and so. We send it with the paper. I generally send it that this is my plague on so and so date. And one way I generally, try and avoid this is, ma'am, that I keep my play less than 5%, ma'am, because I know जब तक ये रिपोर्ट वहां पहुंचेगी वो थोड़ा करके बढ़ चुका होगा. सो आई कीप माई प्लेग टू 5% ताकि अनफॉर्चुनेटली अगर ऐसा कुछ हो भी, ठीक है, तो वो वहां 10% से ज्यादा शो ना करे. These are the 2 precautions I take.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. I'm sharing with you the last, which is actually a software I'm sharing. Okay, this is my Pearl Academy's version, and this is one of the papers I'm showing you. Okay, see it? Report 33%.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So 33%. Look at over here, sir, ma'am. Here, look at the similarity. Internet 5%. Publication 20. Paper 26. Now, when you do the same process on online checkers, what will happen? Tell me, what will be the percentage? Barely 5%. Because those Google checking machines, plagiarism checkers, etc., are only checking internet. It will show you barely 5%. But Turnitin is one. All publications done by publishers, all student papers done in all universities are does 33%. Now, what do you do? Once this report is there, what do? You don't do anything. It's very simple. There are colored paragraphs you will get. You've got colored paragraphs all over. These are the major points. The material which is black, it's clean. Just go and paraphrase the colored lines. Just paraphrase these colored lines. whether purple, red, etc. They're all colors. You know, on the right side, you actually see that 10% match has been done from this, and I have coded it red. On right side, see 3% match from this, coded green. 2% from this paper, coded purple. So if this is purple, it means it is this paper. It is this third search. That is what it means. So any color you see, paraphrase it, write it A to Z.
My document is not visible.
Is it not visible?
No, ma'am.
I just asked. Acha, here it is. Was it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Three by source. Okay, internet source 5%, publication student 28-26%. So if you had gone to an internet checker, it would have barely showed 5%. Okay, but in Turnitin, as I said, into 10, 50% leke chalo, 33% already here. Okay, on the right side, you see 10% match has been made from Ladhari R, red color. So all red color text which you see is copied from this. Purple color, third match, Mary Wolfin Barger. So all purple you see on the left has been done from this. Rephrase, paraphrase all colored text. Don't touch this black area. This black text is clean text. All this text which are colored and which is showing now 23, 54, etc. All these to be paraphrased. Now look, the global judgment attitude related to superiority, Parasuraman et al. It definition. This I'll not be able to paraphrase. If I'm paraphrasing, it should not be in quotes. The more definition in quotes, which mean I am copying it verbatim, which means directly in the same words of Parasuraman. So there might be definitions which you want to give verbatim, right? Quotes, doesn't matter. It is for these definitions that you have that 5% plagiarism. It is for these definitions which you can't change, which you want to directly quote. You have this. Okay, rest don't just don't rest paraphrase, except for these definitions, and only 5%. Only 5% for these definitions. Rest, not single line repeating. Not now. One. It was developed in 1985 by Parasuna. It was developed 3 words together. It is showing plagiarism. Okay, so we can adjust this also as in 2 words together, 3 words together, 4 words together. So if I put 2 words together, okay, the percentage will rise. Okay, so ma'am just asked a question, why is it showing different percentage in different things? That is because of setting also, ma'am. If you give it a setting that exclude small matches, okay, see, can you see it? Exclude small matches. So he will ask you how many words. Okay, so suppose I say, I'm just giving an example. I say 50 words. 50 words together, okay, exclude. And when I do submit, see, my percentage 18%. Exclude words together, okay, and one plagiarism, okay, submit. My plagiarism to 19%. Settings also can vary, ma'am. That is why at your corner and the other person's corner, the plagiarism is coming. This thing. There's an option of include bibliography or not include bibliography. So I say exclude bibliography. Yes, questions? Any?
Yes, ma'am. So, but when you made it 100 words together, it should in fact decrease the symbolic index instead of it.
Why?
Because earlier it was 18% when you put in 50 words. 50 words are together and 100 words are together. So there are more chances of excluding the copy if you put in 100 words.
Together means even the copy play categorize as plagiarism. 50 words mean 2 are there, categorize is at plagiarism. That is what it means.
So it doesn't mean that if words are together, that will not be plagiarism. It doesn't mean that, because it's saying excluding matches.
I didn't get your point. Can you repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. It says excluding matches less than 50 words. When you increased the limit.
Okay, I'll increase it. Yes, let me increase it. Yes.
Okay, so basically, if lesser than hundreds, you increase. I was thinking if you have to exclude those copied parts which together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is the reason percentage is also changing. When you're doing 50 and 100 words, percentage is changing from 1 to 2. Right? So this is about plagiarism. I think majorly done that to be, although it was, but I hope any doubts and whatever I've taught you can, or else we can probably conclude. Any doubts so far, whatever, just to check the chat in otherwise. Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
ma'am, sometimes when we paraphrase, we are left with no other option but to change from active to passive voice. Most of the times, it's very difficult to change the language. What do we do then?
No. It is not difficult to change the language, ma'am. No, you just have to be good in English. And there are agencies for this, me that, ma'am, we don't have Turnitin. Nowadays, there are agencies, they just 500 rupees and run your report through Turnitin. So if you really want to say that we don't have an excess, you'll have to spend a little bit of money. There are agencies which do paraphrasing. English proofreading, for proofreading. According to me, my English is good, but then always get it proofread. I always pay $60 before in my paper to get it proof. So those things are there, ma'am. There is no such line which paraphrase. No, it's not, nothing of this sort.
But the language that we put in the first instance, I think when we change it, the more number of times, the quality of the sentence also changes, because
no, ma'am, no. You can give me an example. For example, Saunders et al. Okay, explained that is a sampling technique called random sampling. I'm just taking an example. Okay, I can say simple sampling was explained by Saunders as a sampling which is so and so. It's absolutely changed. The quality gone.
that I have faced.
Yeah.
Even if I change the voice.
No, ma'am. No. There.
Hey, listen here. One thing, ma'am, just a minute. One thing we have to realize is we have to have a good language, good vocabulary, a wonderful understanding of what we are writing. We can definitely do it. We can definitely do it. So there's no difficulty in paraphrasing, no difficulty in creating simpler words, simpler sentences. Easy. It's not, I don't in the sense that it's a cakewalk, but yes, you have to master it. There is a requirement of some sort of experience, some sort of working on it. You'll get it.
Okay, ma'am.
Academic writing, you'll have to, you don't want to really write. All this is waste if you can't academically write. Times when I collaborate with the UK people, not because their research is, because their way of writing is very good. I mean, my is excellent, but the way they phrase that sentence, so that has to be done. And there is no excuse to plagiarism, and it's very dangerous. I told you, once retracted, the whole career is finished. So I'm very, very particular. Okay, there's one question sir is asking: how would you rate a paper which includes all the arguments inconsistent with past studies? Sir, all arguments should be inconsistent. If there are 10 hypotheses and inconsistent, I would not rate that paper very well. Mind you, these 8 hypotheses were made by at least 5 authors who only said in review 5. Now suddenly your data in 12 hypothesis shows negative. You are contradicting yourself. Or in the review of literature, you should those who have shown a negative impact and then contradict. So you have to balance the review and conclusion. Ishita ma'am is saying, if I get a Turnitin outside and thereafter submit my report to the university, will it impact? No, it will not, Asmita ma'am. But in Turnitin, there is an option. There is an option. Please do not list this report in the data. There is an option. You know, you have to be careful. Even when I'm checking my students' report, you know, sometimes I check them midway. They have done 3 chapters out of 6, and please check. I tell them, why are you scared? But they're kids, as in for me, even PhD. So they are kids. Nahin, 3 tak check kar do. So what do? I put it in and I press an option, do not list in database. And I give them the plague report. So now it doesn't get listed in a database. Yeah.
We have Turnitin. We have Turnitin.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and everything is put to Turnitin. Let me tell you.
Yes. And once listed,
I mean, small mini projects, assignments, articles, dissertation, everything is put to Turnitin.
And one more thing, ma'am. Some PhD students ask me a question कि मैम जो मैंने PhD दिया और यूनिवर्सिटी को सबमिट कर दिया, मैं उसका पेपर बना सकता हूँ या बना सकती हूँ कि नहीं?
पेपर आप बना सकते हो, बट सेल्फ करना पड़ेगा.
Paraphrase.
Otherwise,
it is your own dissertation which you
absolutely, and that's
they have listed. हाँ,
आप even in this coursework it has been told.
Yes.
Self-reference is there. So you are converting an article and putting it to the dissertation, and from the dissertation you are removing some part and creating an article. Please see that you mention.
And paraphrase. Because you know what will happen? The moment you make an article out of a submitted dissertation, वहाँ editor के वहाँ वो show करने लग चढ़ेगा. GLU University on so and so date under so and so. ठीक है, का नाम आएगा, लेकिन जर्नल के लिए वो प्लेजरिज्म है. अब आप एक बात बताइए, मैंने एक पेपर लिखा 3000 वर्ड्स का, 6000, क्या मैं वही पेपर 4 जर्नल्स में अपने नाम तो मेरा कंटेंट. That is what kids are. That's what my students ask me. They say, ma'am, it's my paper, it's my book, I only wrote it. How can I sue myself? You will not sue, the journal will sue you. How can you give a content given to Willy? You have signed a copyright act with Willy. How can you give that content? What is copyright? It is with you, and it will not be republished with Emerald. That is the contract, even if it is your reference. So this must be very shocking. लेकिन आप Saturday Sunday बैठ के सोचिए बच्चे.
मैम
मैम आज Saturday ही है.
आज पूरा दिन इसी पे जाएगा सर मैम इनका.
Ma'am, may I intervene?
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, just a humble intervention. Actually, I was wondering, I submitted and it is a research. If it is published, then I cannot, sort of use the same paper. But if it is not published and if it is rejected, can I use that paper now?
Definitely you can. Definitely. Until your paper doesn't reach the copyright, after acceptance, they will ask you to fill a copyright form. Till that stage, you can put a mail, remove your paper.
Submitted it in the Turnitin, and it is showing that the same thing has been the research proposal has been some student in. So I was wondering, since
it's not possible, ma'am, unless and until there's some foul play, it is not possible. The journal, I don't think, if it's not, and it's not a research proposal, it must be a research paper. Does Elsevier take research for publication?
Ma'am, actually, it as a PhD. Not PhD proposal, an admission in ALSA that time. So submitted that as a research.
Acha. So that they might have, yes, they might have used. You'll they might have
Another
run it.
proposal.
Yes, they might have run it as a research proposal submitted. You might have to paraphrase. I thought you're talking about Elsevier, the journal Elsevier.
No,
Acha,
no, no.
Ma'am, what happens is every institute have their own principles and their own considerations for acceptance. Okay, and Nalini, make it sure that you never name the institute.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Never name the institute.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I get it now. Okay. Thank you so much.
I understand. There are reasons. They might be rejected for n number of reasons.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, don't be impressed. Only 60 who applied to GN. Number was 5 more. We have also rejected.
Yes. Ma'am, I was only or have to read.
Please don't use the same thing. Please same thing. Improve upon it.
Okay.
Make changes.
Okay, ma'am.
And then do it. Your base subject could be the same.
Okay.
Okay, your base subject could be the same, but alterations, amendments, adaptations, rewriting, rephrasing, everything has to be done.
Okay.
It's a fresh. Sorry, Jaspreet ma'am, for any.
No problem, ma'am. I was by that time I was looking at the next question. Sir was asking about again the 3-paper format. Sir, the 3-paper format, European students, they paraphrase, not take from your PhD content. You paraphrase. Is 3-paper topic of your PhD. It doesn't mean 10 from your PhD. That is what they mean by 3-paper. Write a topic. They don't mean copy the exact 10,000 words. That is plagiarism, even if it's your own work. Okay. Any other questions? I don't think there are any other questions, Tanya ma'am. None at chat, no, right. But this was a better session somehow because, you know, everybody was participating today.
There are no more questions.
ठीक है, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Scopus publication is a nightmare for
Somebody
everyone
there
now.
saying something?
No, nothing. Ma'am, actually, Shashank this side. I just said that in no questions, then I can move ahead with vote of thanks.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is not running away. Shoblata ma'am running away.
Sure,
I want you to understand. Because
Yes,
then, you know, once you start writing and you got queries, please remember the supervisor. So please, whatever you want, please clarify now. Even Jaspreet ma'am will be very happy to clarify. Any difficulties, we are there. But see that you do get the best and then you move out. Once you step in to PhD work, please remember there is no getting back. There is no laxity. There is no question. So please take your time to understand. I'm sorry, Jaspreet ma'am.
Ma'am, no problem. Any questions, participants?
Questions.
Okay.
So Shashank, you can your vote of thanks and thanking ma'am. Ma'am, on behalf of GNLU and PhD department, I don't need to thank you. Your family and family members don't require sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
We are together.
Agreed.
Right? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I, Shashank, on behalf of all the scholars, would like to thank you for all the insights and also sharing the wisdom with us with respect to how to write a research paper. I certainly know that this will not only help us for our PhD work, but help us better life in our academic, because we'll be writing research papers. You also showed us paper on the basis of which we scrutinized and got to know how to start with our research work and what should be the chronology. Just to sum, I think it will be difficult for me to summarize everything that was discussed. This which was more than for 3 hours. You started with how we should select some journals, out of which we can shortlist few sample research shortlisting is very important. A grade journal should be our first preference, and we should also be very sure about the relevance of the topic. So how important the topic is, it should reflect the investigation, and that is very important. Abstract is very important. Keywords do help us to find what kind of paper we need to refer to, and also it increases our number of citations because people can easily search our paper and then our citations will increase. Then with respect to introduction, previous work becomes very essential. We should also refer to that, write it there. And how do we address the problem that we have found and the gaps in the literature? The scope of the study should also be mentioned, and rationale. How important is rationale should be also discussed. Then we move to conceptual analytical framework, then methodology. Uh, the difference between result and finding and the difference between discussion and conclusion was also pointed out by you, ma'am, where you said that result and finding are all the numbers that we see and we want to project in our research work, where discussion and conclusion would be the study of those numbers and how the impact could be seen, which would be followed by discussion about its implication and limitation and goals for future research. With this, we moved on to the reference part. And ma'am, you showed us how to see rejections, how editors give us rejections, and you also shared your paper with us. In that, we also saw how all of this, all of this, like I just summarized everything that I could perceive, and in the best and the most brief way possible. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being there always.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for calling me here. Thank you so much. See you again. Goodbye.
And part of us.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Thank you. It's an honor. It's
Thank
an
you.
honor. Thank you, ma'am. Goodbye.
Bye.